San Diego, it's time to fire it up. From the beaches to the ballparks, from the Gaslamp to North County, no one knows America's finest city like he does.
You can't just punt on a Manny Machado prime use.
He's a fourth-generation San Diegan, born and raised in the heart of this community. Passionate, opinionated, and always bringing you the real talk on your teams, your city, and everything in between.
Braden totally knows his stuff. He's ready for the next step. That guy is good.
Live and local, it's the Braden Surprenant Show.
But I think Braden's one of the up-and-coming young stars in the media game in San Diego.
Now, here's your host, Braden Surprenant.
What's up, San Diego, and happy Tuesday to everybody out there in America's finest city. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. This is the Braden Surprenant Show, live and local each and every day from 10 to 2 on San Diego's number one sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Padres off day yesterday, as I knew I was going to say today. What do you people do on the Padres off day? What do you guys do on Padres off days?
That was our question on the pre-show post today.
Yes. What do you guys do on Padres off days?
Anyone else just sit there and twiddle their thumbs yesterday?
Everybody else look like SpongeBob at a diner with a cup of coffee, just sitting there? What do you guys do? Watch other sports? I mean, I played softball last night, so I guess I had something to do. If you're going to have a Padres off day, a Monday's not bad. You know, Monday's not bad to have a Padres off day. If, at least for me, when I play softball. But that's about it. That's all I really did yesterday. I didn't even put on like any other game. I guess I could have watched the Avs play the Wild last night. Colorado Avalanche looked like they cracked their neck after the last game that they lost and went, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know we were going full speed. They showed up and Avs looked just like they did the first couple of games of that series. They look like an unstoppable force, and so do the Carolina Hurricanes in the hockey world. Ducks will play the Knights tonight at 6:30. I'll be locked into that with Padres baseball. And the news we got this morning, well, worked out the first time. Might as well do it again. Matt Waldron's scheduled to be the starting pitcher today for the Padres. He will have an opener. It will be Bradley Rodriguez. Bradley will start again in front of Matt Waldron. So we'll see how that situation plays itself out today in Milwaukee. We didn't talk about this at all yesterday. I totally forgot about this because the team, I always have to ask, the team is staying at the Pfister Hotel. You know about the Pfister Hotel, right?
The haunted hotel.
The haunted hotel. I was kind of listening to Tony about yesterday. I missed the part where he said he didn't really believe in it until last night. So I don't know if something happened ghost-wise, if that was the case.
Picked up by his ankle and hung upside down?
I don't think that was the case. Probably not.
What do you mean? I didn't believe it until last night.
Well, that was Bryce Harper said his uniform got moved around a couple times or something like that. But the Pfister Hotel is haunted, allegedly. And I don't know why. I don't remember if Gwen and Chris mentioned why. I don't know how many Padres are not staying at the Pfister Hotel because of the fact it's haunted. But I find it interesting. I mean, this is like every year. We only get to talk about this once every year because they play the Brewers once on the road. They had one. They had an article on MLB.com on October 31st, 2021 about the Pfister Hotel. And I'll explain in a second. But there's a couple of reasons of why it's listed as haunted. It's just the Pfister Hotel in Milwaukee was built in 1893. It's considered haunted due to decades of reported paranormal activity, often attributed to the ghost of its founder, Charles Pfister. Many believe Charles Pfister, who passed away before the hotel's completion and was deeply proud of his Grand Hotel of the West, still roams the hallways. There has been multiple MLB players, since it's one of the nicest hotels in Milwaukee, that have had terrible experiences at the Pfister Hotel. Bryce Harper reported his clothes moving around. Teoscar Hernandez reported flickering lights and noises. Pablo Sandoval back in the day reported the television turned on by itself. and many players have reported eerie encounters, leading some to refuse to stay there, including Mookie Betts, Bryce Harper, and Giancarlo Stanton. They all get their own Airbnbs or their own hotels somewhere else, so they are not spooked by the ghosts. I find this very interesting every single time. But Michael Clare wrote an article about this back in October of 2020, actually 2020, about all the experiences that people have had at the Pfister Hotel, which makes me wonder if, the Padres have ever had some experience like this, or if any of them are dealing with this, or it's interesting to know if any of the Padres are not staying at the Pfister Hotel. I'm sure we will have some stories about that throughout the week if it does appear or happen. But I find this to be very interesting. I don't know. Do you believe in ghosts? I don't necessarily know if I believe in ghosts. I just try not to. I don't want to say anything that will potentially piss them off. That's basically where I'm at on my paranormal activity.
Oh yeah, exactly. And that's why I always say please and thank you to ChatGPT, because when robots eventually take over, they'll be like, hey, this guy was cool. So I wouldn't mind. I'd be interested to stay in a haunted hotel just to see if anything would happen and see how I would react to it. But I haven't seen I haven't had anything happen to me or seen anything that could be contributed to same.
I mean, we have a lot of haunted buildings in San Diego. In fact, I think out of all of the haunted areas of the United States, San Diego's got a ton. Just go down to Old Town. I mean, they got the buildings down there are ridiculous. And then, you go to the Dell, Kate Morgan's walking around. You go deal with her. I heard there's like a waiting list to get in that room at the Dell.
Of course. Why not? Because people are crazy. People are fun.
All right. So here's some of the stories and key talking points, which I think is interesting. So one of them, Michael Young, and again, we're on this topic to kind of start because it's the Padres are staying at the Pfister Hotel, which is the one that most of the teams stay at in Milwaukee, and it's haunted, allegedly. Michael Young insists he was not joking or embellishing when he claimed he heard footsteps stomping around in his locked hotel room after a game. Instead of panicking, he spoke aloud to the ghost, essentially negotiating, "Hang out, but don't wake me up."
That's what I would kind of do. I'd be like, hey, I know I'm kind of invading in your space. Just let me be, and we'll live and let live.
Hang out, but don't wake me up. After addressing the spirit, the noises stopped. Young actually performed very well in Milwaukee, statistically suggesting maybe the ghosts have liked him. Hey, never know. Bryce Harper, one of the biggest names attached to the Pfister legend, he said that he left clothes folded on a table before bed, woke up to find the table, moved across the room, and clothes were on the floor. Checks for intruders and confirmed the room was still latched from inside, requested a room change afterward. Harper was early in his MLB career at the time. Story gained traction because of celebrity status, obviously, but he doesn't even stay there anymore. So when Philly goes to play Milwaukee, if they're staying at the Pfister Hotel, he stays somewhere else.
What a baby.
You just don't like him because he's on the Phillies.
Is that, and he's just an overall prick, but anyway.
All right, Mike Cameron never personally experienced paranormal activity, but stories from teammates were enough for him to avoid staying there altogether. Mentioned players waking up feeling someone was in the room or finding doors mysteriously open. Mike Cameron didn't even take a chance. He was like, nope, not even going to stay there. Not even going to stay there.
I feel that.
I feel that.
I understand.
Carlos Gomez, one of the most animated stories, claimed voices were heard in his room. His iPod began playing static and changing songs by itself after he exited the shower, ran to the lobby before even putting pants on, criticized MLB teams for continuing to use the hotel. No good, man. No good is what he said about it. The iPod thing's kind of crazy. Guy was hearing voices in his room. G-Man Choi, former Padre for a little bit, former Pirate. The most unique perspective in this article was G-Man Choi. He claimed that he experienced ghosts multiple times in life, said one spirit hugged him from behind while laying in bed.
Hey, yo?
Another allegedly whispered in his ear. Unlike other players, Choi said he eventually became comfortable around the ghosts. Excuse me, G-Man?
Hey, yo!
What's going on?
Bro!
Is that like the scene out of Ghostbusters?
Jesus.
One of them hugged him from behind while lying in bed, and another allegedly whispered in his ear? What's going on in G-Man Choi's room at the Pfister Hotel? Carlos Martinez and Marcell Ozuna in 2018, both Cardinals players claimed to see ghosts the same night. They shared Instagram videos discussing it, ended up sleeping together in teammate Francisco Peña's room because they were too scared to stay in their own room. Clint Hurdle, former Pirates manager, shared his secondhand story. One player repeatedly had his TV turn itself on. Player became so shaken that Hurdle personally had to calm him down. Hurdle refused to reveal the player's identity because he was still active in the league when this happened. Oh my God. What a advantage for the Milwaukee Brewers. How about Adrian Beltre? I should ask his son about this. Adrian Beltre experienced knocking sounds, TV and AC turning on and off, pounding behind the headboard. That's what he said. The article jokes that no ghost attempted to touch Beltre's famously protected head. At least they're respectful. Colby Lewis allegedly saw a skeletal apparition. Story became so disturbing he visited the team chaplain afterward. Missed a scheduled radio appearance because he was so rattled about the skeleton that he witnessed at the Pfister Hotel. John Gray, last one for you. MLB self-described paranormal enthusiast. You know, that doesn't surprise me about John Gray, to be honest with you. Learning that is not crazy. Already interested in ghost hunting before visiting the Pfister Hotel, used the opportunity to investigate the hotel himself. How come he didn't see anything? They're afraid of him. They're like, oh, I don't. Buddy with the.
He must not have been pitching on that series.
What was Tony's story? Did he tell it yesterday? What time did he tell it yesterday? Maybe we should pull that. Benjorno in the YouTube chat says Tony and Mud were in the elevator and it kept pushing its own button to floor 17.
Oh.
Even they tried floor 10 and it still clicked 17. Tony said it was the first time he was actually freaked out and had Mud to back him up on the story. They were spooked. Was that yesterday? Monday?
Wait, was this? Why can I not think of his name now? Is this just an elaborate ruse because Judge hit his 17th home run and it landed on the 17th floor? So is that the lead in for the call today?
You know what? It's not always about you. Okay. It's not about you. So early in the show yesterday, we got to go back and see if we can find that. I got to hear that part of the story because I caught the tail end of Tony talking about the Pfister Hotel, being like, I didn't really know too much about it until I got to the big leagues. And then I had never really experienced anything till yesterday. And then I didn't hear the part where he was talking about yesterday. That's interesting. We're gonna have to go back and find that. The Pfister Hotel. The G-Man Choice story is crazy. I did get a text, Frank. If you want to experience a haunted hotel, he said the Horton Grand right next door to where one of my buddies lives says it's very haunted.
Okay.
I don't want to spend money for the Horton Grand because I think isn't the U.S. Oh, that's the U.S. Grant Hotel. The Horton Grand Hotel, sure. It's probably expensive. That wouldn't be a bad bit. Have fun with that, though. I will not be participating. I do not want to upset the spirits. Oh, absolutely not.
Oh, we're not going there to upset. We're going there to experience.
What do you mean we? You got a mouse in your pocket? I am not doing any of that.
Oh, come on.
You said,
stop being a child.
You said you wanted to stay in a haunted hotel.
I said I would do it at least once for the experience.
I never said I would do it for the experience ever.
because you're a child.
You were talking to somebody that has never stepped foot inside the Whaley house for reasons. Outside, fine. I do not mess with ghosts.
You're
no.
a wuss.
That fine. A wuss that doesn't get messed with. I'll tell you that. Have fun.
No, that's where you do what what's his name did. You just say, hey, listen, live and let live. I just want to see if you're here. That's it. That's all I'm here for.
You know what? You just
don't hurt me.
Don't take it to the G-Man Choi level.
No,
that raises a lot of eyebrows.
That's a lot of questions.
I have a lot of questions that I don't know if we can answer on the show for G-Man Choi's ghost experience at the Pfister Hotel. There's a couple of, you know what? My dad, and speaking of ghosts, my dad used to have his office down in Old Town a long time ago. And it was across the street from the Old Town Cemetery. How well do you know Old Town?
I know it's there.
Like, so you don't
know where the trolley station is.
You do realize like that cemetery is like way smaller than the original one?
That would not surprise me at all.
So like that cemetery was like, I think three or four times the size that you see in Old Town now. So all those surrounding buildings are buried on top of grave sites. You even see him walking on the path. He said the building across the street is the building he used to be in. They they ripped up a cemetery to build said building. You know, it's like a poltergeist situation. He said that he had like the craziest stuff happen to him at that place. Like it was legitimately haunted.
Be like, hey, look, I didn't do it. I get why you're mad. Again, just don't hurt me. You do what you got to do. Don't hurt me.
You think you're going to reason with like the paranormal? That's your plan?
I would at least try. I'm a very diplomatic person to begin with.
I would at least attempt to negotiate with the spirit.
You know my terms. Just don't cross them and we'll be okay. I won't need to get a priest in here.
That's also true.
We will live. We can coexist together. If you want to ruffle some papers around, that's fine. Just don't do anything that makes me get a priest in here.
We have
because I will win this battle in the end.
I'm telling you, there's people like somebody DM'd me and talked about they stayed at the Horton Grand for 2 nights. Said straight up, we'll never do it again. And he loves ghost stuff. Faucet turned on and it sounded like someone was walking around my room the entire time I was there. How much of that is just like the built-in you knew?
Invite him into bed. You never know. You might get a G-Man Choice story out of it.
G-Man Choice situation. He enjoyed the hugs from the ghosts, and one of them whispered in his ear.
New job position negotiator with the dead.
Go ahead. Have fun hanging out with Kate Morgan over at the Hotel Del. Have fun hanging out with anybody at the Whaley House or that other building that's shaped like a horseshoe down there that's even more haunted. No, thank you. The Pfister Hotel is haunted. I got to go find the clip. I got to hear from Tony's. I got to hear Tony's story on this.
I texted Scraby. He hasn't gotten back to me yet.
Somebody said 220 in the chat. I guess we could go check it out real quick. We'll try to do that during the break. When we come back, though, the Padres quarter pole. They've made it to the quarter pole. Quarter of the season is over. We recap what has happened, some things that are good, and some things that need to be talked about. We'll get to that when we come back on the Braden Surprenant Show. Settings over in Sports Station 97.3 The Fan. Second round of the NBA playoffs, already pure chaos. Knicks just swept the 76ers in dominant fashion, dropping 144 points in Game 4 and tying a playoff record for threes made. They're not just winning, they look like a finals team. Out west, Oklahoma City's up 3-0 on the Lakers, and every game follows the same script. LA starts strong with turnovers in depth from OKC take over late. Meanwhile, the Timberwolves and Spurs are tied 2 apiece after a physical series swing involving a Wembanyama ejection over the weekend. And Detroit and Cleveland is a full-on battle with every game coming down to clutch plays. This isn't playoff. This playoffs isn't about who's the best team anymore. It's about who can survive the longest. Second round of the 2026 NBA playoffs already delivering high drama, tight series, and momentum swings that show just how unpredictable this postseason has become.
Yeah, we've got the Knicks completing a sweep of the Philadelphia 76ers, the Pistons and Cavaliers locked in a physical battle, and the T-Wolves and Spurs tied 2-2 in a grinded-out series. Meanwhile, the Oklahoma City Thunder looking dominant again with a 3-0 series lead over the Lakers. So far, right now, nothing is safe and no lead feels comfortable in the NBA. Of course, you're my Knicks.
Yeah. Let's start in the East, where the Knicks made the clearest statement of any team in the playoffs. So as much as Frank likes to bitch about the Mets, the Knicks have been playing pretty well. I mean, they didn't just beat Philadelphia. They swept them, and they did it in a dominant fashion, capped off by a 144-point explosion in Game 4, where they tied a playoff record with 25 made threes. You could say it's NASCAR season all you want, but the Knicks just swept the Sixers, baby. They're right there, ready to go, looking like a finals team.
We got one orange and blue team in New York that's at least somewhat competent. This isn't just hot shooting anymore. It's a fully clicking system. Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns are leading the way, but the real story is how balanced and disciplined this Knicks team looks on both ends. They're no longer a contender. They're looking like a finals level problem, which is something that they have not done since OJ went for a little drive.
Meanwhile, Pistons-Cavs series is the opposite. It's a grind. Detroit leads 2-1, but Cleveland responded in Game 3 behind a big clutch finish by James Harden and another strong scoring night from Donovan Mitchell. Cade Cunningham continues to push Detroit forward with all-around production, but every game feels like a fight down to the final possession. Game 4 becomes the turning point. Either Cleveland evens it, or Detroit puts real pressure on a young roster trying to prove it belongs.
Yeah, out west, the Oklahoma City Thunder continue to look like the most complete team in basketball as they now lead the Lakers 3-0. And every game has followed a similar pattern. LA keeps it close early, but turnovers and depth eventually become a problem, and it buries them. Even when Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is contained, Oklahoma City's supporting cast steps up, especially Ajay Mitchell and Chet Holmgren. At this point, the question isn't if OKC is better, it's whether or not anyone can slow them down for 4 full quarters.
And I don't think anybody really can. I really don't. I mean, maybe San Antonio if they advance through, but
it's going to be the task of one of these next two teams.
But I don't think it's going to be. I really don't think it's going to happen. But Game 4, on the other side, the Spurs and Timberwolves are locked in at 2-2 in one of the most physical series of the playoffs. Game 4 flipped the tone of the series after Victor Wembanyama was ejected for an elbow that sent Naz Reid to the floor, changing the entire flow of the game. Minnesota capitalized late behind Anthony Edwards' 36-point performance. Series shifts back to San Antonio, tied, and Game 5 feels like a pressure moment for both sides, especially with Wembanyama expected to return, looking to respond physically and emotionally after getting ejected.
Yeah, right now across both conferences, a few clear themes have been emerging so far this postseason. First, turnovers and depth are still deciding games as they typically do in the NBA. Oklahoma City is punishing mistakes better than anyone. Meanwhile, teams like Detroit and Minnesota are surviving because of bench and role player production. Second, stars are still important, but consistency is everything. Brunson, Edwards, Mitchell, SGA are all producing, but the teams winning are the ones getting helped beyond that. And third, momentum very, very fragile. No series outside of Oklahoma City feels fully stable, even with leads.
Final takeaway as we move deeper into the second round, the gap between contenders and survivors is shrinking. Oklahoma City looks dominant. The Knicks look complete, but everywhere else, Detroit, Cleveland, San Antonio, Minnesota, even the Lakers, everything is still up for grabs. And if this postseason has shown anything so far, it's that no lead is safe and no series is finished early. $10:24 on a Tuesday. Hopefully the Padres got some good sleep last night and weren't woken up by the spirits of the Pfister Hotel. We haven't been able to find what Tony was talking about yesterday, so maybe once Scraby gets back to us, maybe we can find the clip. We've had some conflicting reports in the YouTube chat about what was said about Tony's experience at the Pfister Hotel. He's staying there right now, so how about it? I was told that my friend that lives next door to the Horton Grand says he gets ghosts that end up in his building all the time. I don't know what that means. Take that for what it's worth. But we'll see if there's any stories coming out of the Padres thing at the Pfister Hotel, which is historically haunted with multiple baseball players having horrific experiences to them and baseball players that refuse to stay at the Pfister Hotel. Except for G-Man Choi, who apparently likes it now for some odd reason. Go look up why G-Man Choi likes staying at the Pfister Hotel at this point. Quarter pole. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. We're broadcasting live from the Bill House Studios. We know how. Quarter season reality check time for the Padres. We're going to take a deeper dive into what has happened so far after one quarter of play for the season. They're 24-16, and by the way, alone in first place now. We're going to talk about the Giants in the 11 o'clock hour. It doesn't hit as well after they have won 2 in a row and just bludgeoned the Dodgers last night, 9-3. Thanks, Roki Sasaki. Thanks, Alex Vesia. Giving up some 3-run innings. Or 3 earned runs, I should say. Each. A 9-run game yesterday for the Giants. But the Padres are in first place, and nothing about them being in first place right now with the record that they have seems sustainable. They are one of the strangest teams in baseball through the first 40 games of the year. Their +3 run differential suggests they should be a 500 team, yet they sit at 24-16, thanks largely to 12 comeback wins, elite bullpen work, timely situational baseball, winning close games despite poor offensive production. And the concern is this formula is extremely difficult to sustain over 162. The optimism is they're still winning despite all their stars underperforming offensively. I thought it was very interesting yesterday. When Alden Gonzalez tweeted out about the Giants. Did you see what Alden Gonzalez put out about the Giants yesterday, Frank? Here's what Alden Gonzalez tweeted about. It was about, you could point to the rookie manager, maybe a bad bullpen, numerous other things, but Rafael Devers, Matt Chapman, and Willie Adames are the Giants' best and most expensive hitters, and they've slashed 225, 277, 343 with 8 home runs in 494 plate appearances. I don't think any team survives that. It was quote tweeted. It was responded to immediately going, the Padres have survived that. And Alden Gonzalez basically did the whole like the gif where he's like kind of convincing himself. He tweeted out, you know what? The Padres are surviving that. The Padres are actually doing exactly what he said no team would be able to do. They are surviving their best players not hitting. It starts with Fernando and his power outage, which is becoming a real concern. We're going to talk about this later on in the show. An interesting story from Buster Olney on Gwynn and Chris talking about Fernando. We'll get to that later. But he has got now 167 plate appearances without a home run. StatCast says he's hitting the ball hard, but results are non-existent. His near homer Sunday would have left the yard in 12 ballparks, but the bigger issue here is he's hitting just 172 against four-seam fastballs. He has no extra base hits against the heater. For a player once considered one of baseball's best fastball hitters, this is a little bit of an alarm. But the 2021 MVP caliber Tatis may not be returning anytime soon if he can't hit the fastball. Yet the Padres are still desperately in need of his power to return if they want to be a legitimate October threat. I will say this, Buster only does not think you should be overly worried about Fernando. I'm not overly worried about Fernando because I don't think he's going to hit 175 against fastballs the entire time. The entire lineup has underperformed, not just Fernando. Manny Machado, Jackson Merrill. I think Xander's done a fine job because he currently leads the Padres hitters in slugging percentage. But unfortunately, his slugging percentage is .437. That ranks only 55th in Major League Baseball. out of all players, which is not the best when you're leading your team in slugging percentage. So it's not just the Tatis issue. Several key Padres are off to sub 700 OPS starts. Tatis is, Machado is, Jake Cronenworth is, Jackson Merrill is, Ramon Laureano, Freddie Fermin, Nick Castellanos. All have sub 700 OPSs. The offense has become heavily dependent on situational hitting, bunting, advancing runners, late game execution. Manny openly admitted, we talked about this yesterday. It's obvious we're not hitting. The Padres had just 14 total hits in a 4-game series against the Cardinals, the fewest in franchise history for a 4-game set. They split that series, surprisingly. The lineup lacks that kind of fear factor right now. Nobody is consistently carrying the offense, and the deepest lineup in baseball narrative looks very shaky right now when you look at the fact that they haven't really been able to put anything together offensively. The good news is they're winning. But for how much longer? Rotation decisions are coming fast. Personnel decisions are coming fast. By the end of the week, Lucas Giolito needs to be on this team. He's about to force a roster move. Rehab outing yesterday on Sunday. We talked about this already yesterday. 6 innings, 1 run, no walks, modest velocity, topping off at 93 miles an hour. Padres must add him to the roster by Saturday because of his contract. And the dilemma is, who loses their rotation spot, or do they move to a 6-man rotation? Walker Buehler may have saved himself after Sunday's outing. He's lowered his ERA to a 5.20 with a solid outing Sunday. Underlying metrics are better than his ERA, as it has a 3.87 expected fielding independent pitching. Padres believe he's trending upward after several encouraging starts. And the quote for Craig Stammen from Sunday, he was nails. Buehler may have bought himself additional runway for the rest of the season, or at least through Lucas Giolito being added back to the roster. Matt Waldron could be the odd man out. Waldron being out of options complicates a lot of things, complicates really everything. If the Padres DFA him, they risk losing him entirely. 6-man rotation could temporarily solve the issue, but Giolito, Griffin Canning are both building up stamina. 6-man rotations also create rhythm issues for starters and bullpen planning complications. The rotation reality is Padres entered the season expecting frontline stability. Instead, they're patchworking innings together while Joe Musgrove remains sidelined. Nick Pivetta remains sidelined, and Giolito is still a question mark. You don't know if he's going to come back and it's going to be a guaranteed success. Yet somehow the rotation has overachieved relative to expectations. We're going to talk more about the decisions that linger for the Padres later on in the show. The rotation is an interesting part of this, obviously, because Matt Waldron is trending in the right direction. We'll see how he does today against a more formidable lineup with the Milwaukee Brewers. But they have to make a decision by Saturday. And if you're the Padres at this point in time, I don't know if you could give up starting pitching. So maybe it is somebody out of the bullpen. Maybe they move one of their starters to the bullpen. Maybe they go with a 6-man rotation. Maybe they continue to do this opener situation with guys like Bradley Rodriguez or maybe somebody else. Interesting questions. We have more on the bullpen when we come back. We also have some defining questions that need to be answered about the Padres after reaching the quarter pole. 40 games into the season, where the Padres stand. Taking a deeper dive here into the next segment on the Braden Surprenant Show, San Diego's number one sports station, 97 through the Fan. This week in motorsports showed one clear theme. When the race gets chaotic, the best drivers rise above it. At Watkins Glen, Shane Van Gisbergen was in a different league, slicing through the field from 29 seconds back to win by over 7 seconds. In NASCAR, Connor Zilisch and Caden Honeycutt turned strategy chaos into dramatic finishes, while rivalries like Gibbs and Priest are starting to boil over. In IndyCar, Christian Lundgaard turned strategy and patience into a statement win in Indianapolis. Across every series, one thing is clear: speed wins races, but execution wins weekends. Let's start with NASCAR. this week delivered everything from dominance on road courses, late race chaos, strategy gambles, and few growing rivalries across NASCAR and IndyCar. From Watkins Glen to Texas to Indianapolis, the story of the week is clear. Execution under pressure is everything, and one mistake can flip an entire race. Texas Motor Speedway, it was another strong showing for Toyota and Joe Gibbs Racing.
Yeah, it was. It was also last week's race. Didn't realize that was still in there. Bigger story, though, came at Watkins Glen, which was this weekend's race, as Shane Van Gisbergen delivered what might be the most dominant road course performance of this season so far. After dropping more than 29 seconds behind after a late race pit stop, SVG carved his way through the field like a driver in a different category entirely, reeling in Ty Gibbs and then pulling away to win by over 7 seconds. It was his 7th Cup Series win, all of them on road courses. At this point, the conversation isn't just about whether or not you can compete, whether you can beat SVG on road courses. It's kind of whether or not you can even compete with him at this point.
And Watkins Glen also delivered in the lower series. Connor Zilic looked like he had another road course win wrapped up until late chaos in both the O'Reilly Auto Parts and truck races reshuffled everything. In the O'Reilly Auto Parts series, Zilic still managed to secure a dramatic win over Jesse Love after a last lap surge, continuing his dominance at the track, winning his 3rd straight race at the Glen. But in the truck series, Caden Honeycutt finally broke through for his first career win, beating Zilic and Shane Van Gisbergen in overtime after a wild restart sequence. Honeycutt's recovery drive from penalties to passing the best road racers in the sport made it one of the most impressive underdog wins of the season so far. Over in Indianapolis, though, IndyCar, there was a statement being made.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the month of May for IndyCar, and it's their big Indianapolis month, and it starts with the road course race. And that happened on Saturday at the Indianapolis road course. Christian Lundgaard delivered a surgical drive to win the Soniso Grand Prix, pulling off a decisive outside pass on David Malukas and never looking back. Strategic chaos to find the race early when a caution split the field, and championship leader Alex Palou briefly lost track position after a pit decision that ultimately changed the entire race's outcome. Lundgaard's win not only marks his return to victory lane, but it also tightens up the championship picture heading towards the multiple weeks of Indianapolis 500 buildup, which will take place on Memorial Day.
And this week raises a bigger question across all series. Are we watching the rise of true road course specialists separating from the rest of the field?
It looks like it might be. Shane Van Gisbergen, again, has won all 7 of his Cup Series starts, won 7 of his Cup Series races on road course, including his very first race at the Chicago Street Circuit a couple of years ago. Connor Zilic really proved that while he's had kind of a average oval season so far, he proved that he can still be the guy who won and dominated the Xfinity, now the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series championship last year. Truck Series put on another great race, as they always do. The O'Reilly race was the best race of the weekend so far. And again, for IndyCar, this is their big month. The month of May is their Indy month. It is huge for them. And it started off with a big show on the road course. And now we get into the week-long qualifying procedure for the Indianapolis 500. We got the Weenie 500 put on by Oscar Mayer a little bit later on in this month as well, before it all culminates on Memorial Day weekend with the Indy 500 and the Coca-Cola 600 for NASCAR coming up on Sunday.
Should be fun racing in a couple of weeks. And with every week that jumps off the calendar that we do on the show, one week closer to NASCAR coming to San Diego. 10:40 on a Tuesday. All of our guests join us on the SDCCU fan hotline. It's not Big Bang Banking. It's better. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. It's the Braden Surprenant Show. Second Urban Sports Station 97.3 The Fan. You want to tell us that new ticket price for the Mets? That's how bad things have gotten?
For anyone who wants to see the New York Metropolitans at Citi Field, why would you? Take on the Detroit Tigers.
Oh, also a team not doing well.
On Thursday. So you have time to book your flights. You could sit in the luxury seats behind home plate where all the free food and alcohol are for $96 on StubHub, including fees.
Excuse me?
For $96, including fees.
So that for $96, including fees. So you'll be out like $120, maybe, per ticket?
Well, no, that $96 is including the fees.
That's including the fees?
Yeah.
So under $100, I get all you can eat and drink?
Behind home plate in the luxury VIP seats, yes.
So in the seats that are like the Blue Shield Club here at Petco Park, you can go to the Mets version of the Blue Shield Club, which is amazing.
Yep.
For $96.
Uh-huh.
Start checking the Padres at the Mets in August. That's going to be bought by all Padres people.
StubHub, here we come.
See if that's available. The Padres just buy all those tickets and make a ticket package to New York. Start spreading the news.
No,
I'm leaving.
We want to keep this a secret. This is not news we want to know about.
Be a part of it.
There's nothing you want to be a part of right now.
New York, New York.
Well, that's okay.
Who doesn't want to go to Flushing Meadows in August?
You know what? That's what I've been saying.
That sounds like a great time. I've never been to Citi Field.
I have. It's quite nice. It's a lot of history.
Oh yeah. I'm sure it is.
For Monday night's game on August 17th, you can sit there for $325.
Get that? They still have hope at that point. I think maybe the things will turn around.
Dead central behind home plate. Upper tank will cost you $23.
Wow. Okay.
Which is interesting because it only gets more expensive the further out you go, which I think it would go the other way. But, hey, what do I know?
We're hoping for more Mets breakdown.
Of course, it reset. So now I got to go all the way back to page, what was it, 15?
All right. We're talking about the Padres quarter season reality check. They have one ugly. They're living dangerously. We talked about the starting pitching a little bit. They have some big decisions coming up in the near future. And when I mean near future, I mean by the end of the week. We're going to talk about that later on in the show. But let's talk about the bullpen. I mean, Mason Miller is a weapon and a little bit of a concern. He has arguably been the Padres' most valuable player, leads the team in Fangraphs WAR. He's striking out more than half the hitters he faces, but the workload is becoming dangerous. He's on pace for 75 appearances, already worked 3 consecutive days, throwing 100 miles an hour constantly, on pace for 421 pitches, over 100 miles an hour. Padres are asking a closer to repeatedly cover for offensive shortcomings at this point because everything's been very close. I do like the fact that they have kind of toned it down a little bit with Mason Miller. Probably some of that has been with the week of games that they have had. He threw 29 pitches, I think it was, a couple of days ago when he saved the game on Saturday. But before that, he had 2 days off before, and he has had 2 days off since. So in a 5-game stretch, he has only pitched 1 time. So I think you're starting to see Mason Miller, ease up a little bit in terms of his overall usage, which I think is good. But you don't want to overuse the bullpen because that's going to lead to a disaster later in the year. Adrian Morejon is also pacing towards 75 appearances. Jeremiah Estrada has already hit the IL after heavy usage last season. He came back. He's looked good when he's coming back. Jason Adam is returning from a serious injury and requires careful workload management. Bullpen has effectively really mask a lot of the lineup flaws because they've been so good in the back end. Not perfect, not up to like where you would think they could potentially be, but they're getting used a lot. And the fear is the offense keeps forcing these high leverage games, and the bullpen eventually would burn out by August if this continues. So got to have some good length out of your starters, but also at the same time, this is a big reason why the Padres offense needs to get going. I mean, yeah, you like seeing Mason Miller like lead the league in saves, phenomenal, but you shouldn't have to have all these close games where you need saves. It'd be nice to just kind of jump out on a team and not have to rely on your top portion of the bullpen to go out there and finish out the game. And that's where the offense is hurting the bullpen a little bit. I would say the offense, Frank, is hurting the bullpen more so than the starting pitching is.
I would agree 100%. You cannot consistently throughout the year have your bullpen pitching in high leverage situations night after night after night after night, because it does nothing to help them rest. It does nothing to help them relax. They have to be on every single night. So yeah, I would 100% agree that the bullpen, that the the lineup is not doing any favors to the bullpen.
No, it's not. I think that's because if you're looking at some of the starting, let's look at this makeshift rotation they've put together, which I think has done a very admirable job. I think they've done a really good job. I think Walker Buehler is trending in the right direction. I think you're going to have an interesting conversation with Matt Waldron here coming up in the next couple of days or so. Hopefully he can have a good outing again today to really make the decision by the end of the week. Even more difficult when Lucas Giolito joins the team. But I think the rotation has done a very good job considering the circumstances of not having Pivetta, not having Musgrove. Obviously, Yu Darvish is going to be out for the year. And with a lot of the big names that have gotten the big contracts, Michael King coming off of multiple injuries last year, Randy Vasquez being still trying to come into his own at the major league level as a starting pitcher. Question marks around Griffin Canning. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. They've done a very admirable job. And by the way, they're giving you 5 innings almost every single night. Now, there's a couple times where they don't, but most of the time they're giving you 5-6 innings a night. That helps your bullpen out. That puts you in a position to be able to not have to use your bullpen as much. But the problem is they have to play in these tight games because the offense isn't putting it fully together, and they need these late heroic comebacks. And that's the constant, this is not a recipe for success, long-term conversation that we have had. Now, schedule's about to expose who the Padres really are to an extent. They have benefited from a very soft schedule. Do you know what their schedule ranking is out of 32 in terms of difficulty level?
I wanted to say 24, so I'm going to say 23.
Why did you do that?
It was 24.
It was 25. So you were 1 off, and then you made yourself 2 off. You went the wrong direction. So you were 1 off again, and then in trying to compensate for your 1-offs that you have,
and
you are 1 off in the wrong direction.
And give the Padres the benefit of the doubt at the same time.
God, you're so good at that. He is 1 off every time, and then when he tries to overcome his shortcomings, his 1-off comings, he misses that by 1. What was that yesterday that I asked you when we were recording some of those videos about?
I don't remember, but you said
he was. Yeah.
My guess was like 26, and it was 15.
Yes.
So it was
he
1 off.
He was
on
11
both
off.
numbers.
He was 1 off. He said Frank ended up being 11 off on something, and he goes, "Well, at least I wasn't 1 off." And I said, "Well, you were 1 off both digits, so you technically were 1 off." 25th. The Padres' strength of schedule is 25th in Major League Baseball right now.
If you need somebody to be 1 off of your number at the roulette table, give me a call.
You should go on The Price is Right. You'd be the closest one every time. You'd
You're
actually be
right,
really
I
good at
would.
The Price is Right.
Yeah, that is a good shout right there.
Who even hosts that show anymore?
It's still Drew Carey, isn't it?
Is it still Drew Carey?
I believe so.
Whose line is it anyway?
That's actually the voice of what's her name on Archer? Lana.
Drew Carey used to host Whose Line Is It Anyway?
I know, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The price is right. Drew Carey.
He would be one over in disqualifying.
You know what? That is true. If you're over, you lose. Yeah, you'd be hosed, actually. It'd be very sad because you would be so close every single time.
That's how Frank lost his job, setting the betting lines in Vegas.
It's good stuff from the YouTube today. San Diego has played the second easiest schedule in MLB by opponent winning percentage. Their overall strength schedule is 25th in Major League Baseball. That obviously changes immediately. You got the Brewers and the Mariners both on the road. The Dodgers come to town. This upcoming stretch may reveal whether the Padres are legitimate contenders or simply surviving early season volatility. While 24-16 still matters, Padres, despite all the flaws and bad offensive stretches, inconsistent stars, bullpen, overusage, rotation, instability, they're still 8 games above 500, which gives them margin for error while waiting for stars to normalize. I will say this, and I said it yesterday, in terms of the schedule, this is the part of the schedule you want to go 500. This is where, like, if the Padres come back next week for their series against the Dodgers and they went 3-3 on the road trip, that's a win to me. I think that's a win. Anything more than that is house money. You go 4-2 and win both series in Milwaukee and in Seattle, house money.
Yeah, like you said, it's if the Padres end the month of May with their monthly record for May being 500, that's a solid result. And I think June, you could probably say the same thing too, because that it doesn't get any easier in June.
Right. And you go into if you do that, you'd go into June 8 games over 500. Sounds good. I think that would be a good spot because, again, it lightens up at the end of July when you come back from the East Coast road trip, the Comic-Con road trip that you have to go on every year. When you come back from that, the schedule lightens up with a lot of teams that will not be full force. They will be a shell of themselves after the trade deadline. It's the Rockies, it's the Diamondbacks, it's the Giants, it's teams like the Astros right now. It's a very favorable second half schedule for the San Diego Padres, but this is the couple of months you just got to grind through. And unfortunately for the Padres, they got to get the offense going to be able to do this. So it gives them the margin for error. The team is underachieving offensively, but I do think it's poised to explode. I can't imagine, and I know Tony said this yesterday, like sometimes you wait and some guys just have a bad year. I just don't see this entire team all having a bad year offensively. I really don't.
No, I could see 1 or 2 of them maybe, but not the entire collective. That's just the odds of that are just astronomical.
Right. So they got to get the offense going. Right now, it's going to be difficult with the teams that they're taking on. Trying to go 500 on this road trip, starting with Milwaukee tonight. And Bradley Rodriguez will start things off for San Diego on the mound tonight. He will be the opener for Matt Waldron. Big decisions looming for this Padres team. I mean, we've discussed the rotation a lot. We haven't really discussed the conversation of what happens when Jake Cronenworth comes back.
He has not come back yet. It's past the 7 days that he has to be on concussion protocol. So, I mean, I don't want to speak anything poor into existence, but is this another Austin Nola situation where he just kind of never really does get over it?
I don't want to get to that point yet. I think I think Jake's going to be fine. But I look at this and you try to find your big question is, like, Sun Moon Song has done okay. He's hitting $167. You would hope he's going to need time to adjust to major league pitching. The thing with Sun Moon Song is he gives you versatility and a lefty bat,
and which
you currently don't have. And so, to me, I think the conversation is, do we think that is more valuable than Bryce Johnson being part of the organization? I mean, it's not like Bryce Johnson's done anything that spectacular. He's hitting 208 so far. He hasn't had too many opportunities to play. 561 OPS. I know he's a defensive replacement, but would you rather have the extra guy in the infield, in the middle infield, or the extra guy in the outfield? And that's kind of the decision you're making right now.
And the only reason why I bring that up is because he's been dealing with this now for about a month. So that's the only reason why.
When we come back, yes, there's very difficult decisions for the Padres to make. Giants are a disaster despite last night's win. We'll talk more about it. 11 o'clock on a Tuesday after a Padres off day. That's never fun. What do you guys do during these off days? What does Frank do during the off day? Did you chill yesterday when you finally got home?
I did. I had dinner, and that was about it. I had dinner, finished up the last bit of prep work for the show tomorrow and today, and that was pretty much it. Laid in bed and watch YouTube.
Nice. What do you watch on YouTube?
Oh, nonsense.
Nonsense.
Yeah, just ridiculous. It's more for background noise. I surf on my phone.
I tell you what, I don't really watch a lot of TV anymore. I don't. I mean, I put some stuff on in the background, like you said, but it may be sports, but sometimes if there's like not any games I want to watch, then I don't really do that.
Frank Watkins, you laugh, but having like when the sound of riding on a train in the rain is white noise to go to sleep, that is perfect. That is not bad.
You need a sounder that is a train horn on this show. I feel like we could get good use out of that at this point in time. I don't really watch videos on YouTube either. I don't what I usually start thinking about different things to do work-wise.
There are some things that I just like I said, just throw on as background noise. Sometimes I'm interested in it. Like I'll put on like old restoration videos and like just ASMR restoration videos and see just the change in the process of it. People playing games that I don't have, just throw that on as background noise. See the game. That's about it, really. That's what I'm into right now, really.
Juan in the YouTube chat brought up the Giants. He said he put the Giants game on, fell asleep because they're so boring.
That's ASMR right there.
And he woke up and they were giving Dodgers belt, which is 100% true. Which kind of like, does it make this segment like less cool now because they just destroyed the Dodgers 9-3? They're now 3-1 against LA. I don't think it really does because I do think they have the Giants are a mess.
And win does not erase these problems.
They have 3 against them. They're 3-1 against LA this year.
The Angels were 6-0 against them last year.
Giants have an identity crisis. Rebuild, reload, or an expensive mess. I think this is an expensive mess. The Giants have gotten off to just like such a bad start. They entered 2026 expecting to compete. Instead, before last night's game, they're 8 games under 500 on the worst run differential in baseball. Traded former franchise catcher Patrick Bailey, demoted veteran reliever Ryan Walker, and are spiraling toward organizational uncertainty. There was a couple of articles in The Athletic that framed this debate surrounding the franchise of, is this a rebuild or the Giants trapped trying to reload around an expensive, underperforming core? Look at the Patrick Bailey trade. Symbolizes a shift for this team. He was once viewed as the present, the future, and a foundational piece of the organizations. For the organization, they trade him for a prospect, and effectively the idea of a future prospect would show signs of desperation more than direction. To the point where, like, when they traded him to Cleveland, a lot of Giants personnel were telling Cleveland how much of a stud that they were getting in Patrick Bailey. You know our guy, our Birdland guy?
Hey, Birdland.
He's a big fan of Patrick Bailey. He used to be with the Guardians and was with the Giants when Patrick Bailey was coming up. In one of the articles, the one by everybody's favorite journalist, Ken Rosenthal, he stated that our Birdland guy was like, he messaged one of the one of the personnel at the Guardians, you wait till after I leave Cleveland to bring in Patrick Bailey. Like, this is like a big, like, the Guardians are so stoked that they got Patrick Bailey. Is this another massive screw up for the Giants? Or are they starting to like try to punt on the season, get anything that they possibly can? I mean, they traded him for like essentially trying to get a better draft pick. So what? They could get Rock Chalowski over at UCLA. Fans immediately started using the term rebuild after they traded away Patrick Bailey. The organization, however, seems unwilling to fully embrace that reality. I don't know if you can rebuild right now for an organization that has nothing to rebuild. They have all these guys that they can't get rid of. How do you do a hard rebuild if you can't trade away any of these players?
You can't. You have to get rid of them. I don't understand. There are teams that are clearly waving the white flag at this point. The Mets are waving the white flag. They just brought up A.J. Ewing thinking it was going to bring people into the ballpark today. They're waving the white flag. The Giants, this is the first step in it, but their biggest problem is you're going to need to take on salary in order to get rid of these guys, so you lose either way. You get rid of the guys, sure, but you're taking on bad contracts to get rid of the guys.
I don't understand how it's like they're stuck in kind of a spot. I mean, yesterday and Sunday was a sign for the Giants. This is what makes it even more difficult. Yesterday and Sunday were reminders of what the Giants thought they would be. Like, it's almost like the mirror universe that the Giants finally showed up the last 2 days. Like Rafael Devers, Heliot Ramos, Willy Adames, in their comeback win over Pittsburgh. Devers hit 2 doubles. Ramos crushed a monster home run. Willy Adames had 3 hits, including a game-tying knock. Willy Adames also did well yesterday, too. But for one afternoon, and now 2 nights in a row, Giants look dangerous. They looked athletic. They look fun, offensively explosive. I mean, they have the flashes there, but they cannot get the consistency. And the problem is the good version of the Giants rarely appears. The roster occasionally looks capable of contending. Most nights, however, the lineup disappears, the bullpen implodes, the defense cracks, or the situational baseball falls apart. I mean, the Giants are stuck between believing talent will eventually win out and accepting this core may simply not be good enough anymore. That is a worse position to be in than any other position because they're getting enough out of some of their players every once in a while to give you this false sense of hope, which also means you can't really rebuild because you're thinking like, oh, well, maybe they're turning it around now. Now they're not. I feel like this Giants team is stuck and they can't be in a rebuild. They're not in a rebuild because they can't actually rebuild because the core is too expensive to tear down. Massive veteran contracts, aging stars, long-term commitments, limited trade flexibility. I mean, these players are not easily movable. It's not like let's just sell everybody for prospects. It's not even like they have like good players on big contracts that people are willing to take on. They have nothing. Jung-Hoo Lee's making like $20-something million a year. He's a slap hitter. They have to be able to get better production out of these guys to potentially trade them away. They can't fix this problem. They're stuck. And a lot of their veterans are no longer guaranteed security either. Ryan Walker demotion symbolized a new reality over there. Past success no longer guarantees the protections. They're entering survival mode, the Giants are. And the front office definitely feels desperate right now. I mean, one of the strongest themes in that organization is urgency. Pressure extends everywhere. Front office, coaching staff, veterans, young players. Organization understands that the losing cannot continue. Morale is fragile, and the patience between ownership and fans is evaporating. I don't see, Frank, how this situation gets any better.
It's going to take a lot of time. That's really all there is to it, is you cannot get fooled by last night if you're the Giants. If you think you could capitalize on that, if anything, if Devers starts to get hot, okay, goodbye. That's what you have to do. You cannot get fooled by it. You're in a position where you have to rebuild this team from the ground up, and you started doing it last year, trading away some of your guys. You got Drew Gilbert. Last year was going to be a good young outfielder. I just don't see any other way around it that the Giants are going to have to commit fully to a rebuild at this point.
Here's the other thing is they're caught between like 2 timelines. Like the Giants are the example of what Padres fans don't want the Padres to be. And that's like stuck in this in between where you don't have all of their prospects, their top prospects are teenagers, low A, or years away. They're way far away. But here's the problem. They have Bryce Eldridge, who's one of their expected like top prospects who doesn't play a lot for some reason. I don't know why he's not playing as much as he should be playing more than he does, but he doesn't play a lot, and he's kind of like the in-between the young generation of Giants that they're trying to work up and this aging veteran core that has proven that they can't play to the level they were expecting them to play at when they built the core before the young players came up. And so now you're stuck in between where you're not bad enough to fully commit to the young guys, but you're not good enough to contend, and you're not young enough to dream big. It's a very awkward middle ground that they're in. And the biggest fear for the Giants is becoming stuck. I mean, that's the worst place to be in baseball, and that's where they're at right now. I mean, they're stuck in baseball. They're stuck, and the Giants being stuck, that's the worst place to be in sports, the middle. I think that's the worst place to be in sports, and that's exactly where they're at right now. That's exactly where they're at. And I don't think they're going to be able to get their way out of this. We'll see if they continue to play well against the Dodgers for the rest of the week. I doubt it. But this is a club that is in disaster mode. We'll see what they do against the Dodgers. I would consider them not a contender. I don't think anybody really does consider them a contender. There are 12 teams, though, that are close to 500, above 500. We're after a quarter poll. Are they contenders or are they pretenders? Matt Snyder had an article on CBS.com, CBSSports.com. We will play our version of contender versus pretender when we come back. Braden Surprenant Show, San Diego Sports Station 97.3 The Fan. The NHL just had one of its wildest weeks of the season. The Toronto Maple Leafs won the 2026 NHL Draft Lottery and now could land a superstar prospect in Gavin McKenna with the number 1 overall pick. Meanwhile, San Jose Sharks grabbed the number 2 pick and continue building one of the best young cores in hockey with Macklin Celebrini already leading the future. In the playoffs, the Carolina Hurricanes are headed to the conference finals, while the Colorado Avalanche and Minnesota Wild are locked in an all-out war. Nathan McKinnon is putting up historic playoff numbers, but Kirill Kaprizov and the Wild just punched back with a dominant Game 3 win. And don't look now, but the Montreal Canadiens and Anaheim Ducks are suddenly making serious noise in the postseason. Young stars are taking over the NHL, and the future of hockey has officially arrived. We got huge draft lottery drama, playoff chaos, breakout stars taking over the postseason, and debate brewing around who could become the next face of the league. Toronto Maple Leafs officially won the 2026 NHL Draft Lottery. Carolina Hurricanes are already heading to the conference finals, and the Colorado Avalanche and Minnesota Wild are in the middle of one of the nastiest playoff battles we've seen all spring. Maple Leafs won the draft lottery. What could we take away from this?
Yeah, the biggest headline of the week, off the ice at least, the Toronto Maple Leafs landed the number 1 overall pick in the 2026 NHL draft, despite having just an 8.5% chance to do so in the lottery. That's now the 3rd time in franchise history Toronto owns the top pick, and fans immediately started about dreaming the possibility of Gavin McKenna out of Penn State coming to Toronto. McKenna is viewed by many scouts as a franchise-changing talent, elite puck control, elite vision, dangerous release, basically the kind of player that teams build around for the next decade. He put up 51 points in 35 games as a freshman and dominated at every level before that. Now, the interesting part of this is the timing, is Toronto just hired John Chayka as their new general manager with senior advisor Matt Sundin, and immediately they inherit one of the biggest draft decisions in the history of the franchise.
Yeah, and here's the big discussion point about this. Do the Maple Leafs automatically take McKenna, or do they entertain moving the pick for multiple assets to speed up the rebuild? Because this draft class is kind of loaded. You've got Swedish forward in Ivor Stenberg rising fast, plus a stacked class of defensemen, including Chase Reed, Carson Carrolls, and Daxon Rudolph. But if you ask me, when you have a chance to draft a potential superstar centerpiece, you do not overthink it. That's how franchises change overnight. Always draft best available, Frank. Every sport. It works out better if you do that.
Especially when you have the number 1 pick.
Correct.
And no one can take anyone else. The team behind them, though, the San Jose Sharks, they grabbed the number 2 pick, and somehow this team keeps finding itself near the top of the draft. Over the last 4 years, they've landed elite young talent, including Will Smith, Macklin Celebrini, and Michael Misa. They now add another premium prospect. And honestly, San Jose may quietly be building one of the scariest young cores in the NHL. As general manager Mike Greer even hinted that he could consider trading the pick, which would immediately become one of the biggest offseason storylines in the NHL.
Yeah, if they stay at 2, they could land Stenberg or one of these franchise caliber defensemen. But with Celebrini already looking like the future a superstar, Sharks rebuild suddenly feels ahead of schedule as they try to compete with the 2 other California the other California teams that have made the playoffs and one still alive in the playoffs. And let's transition into the Stanley Cup playoffs because you have chaos everywhere. This postseason has been absolutely insane. Carolina has officially clinched their spot into the Eastern Conference Final. They're the first team in to the conference finals, continuing one of the most complete playoff runs in hockey. Meanwhile, the series everybody is watching right now is Colorado and Minnesota. Colorado leads the series 2-1, but Minnesota responded game 3 with a dominant 5-1 win, and the Wild are suddenly getting offense from everywhere, especially their defensemen.
Yeah, Quinn Hughes and Brock Faber each already have 4 goals this postseason, helping Minnesota set a franchise record from the blue line. But the biggest name in this series is still Nathan McKinnon, who is scoring at a historic pace. He already has 60 career playoff goals and is reaching milestones faster than almost anyone in NHL history, not named Gretzky or Lemieux. On the other side, Kirill Kaprizov continued to build on his performance this postseason with another 3-point night in Game 3. Colorado leading the series 2-1. This series feels like it's going to go all 7, and honestly, as Western Conference Classic written all over it.
And speaking of the Western Conference, and, well, a couple of other series out there that are starting to shake some things up, it's the Canadiens in the Eastern Conference and the Anaheim Ducks in the Western Conference. The Fan on a Tuesday. Get ready for Padres baseball tonight. Play at 4:40, late afternoon.
Is there?
Remember that correctly? 4:40 the next 2 days, then a 10:40 start on Thursday. How about it? Looking forward to the game today. We got Padres game today, this afternoon. A little setup for Anaheim Ducks action. Come on.
Getting ready by watching their win from the other night, too.
This is the second show in a row we've watched them beat the Knights. Did you know they swept the Knights in the regular season?
I did not know that.
I swear I heard that before this series started because I thought, every time and how about this? The Ducks beat the Knights 3 times in the regular season.
Mm-hmm.
They beat them 4-3 every time, twice in overtime. So these 2 wins for the Knights are the first 2 wins the Knights have had over the Ducks this season. And one of the Ducks wins, 4-3 in overtime. How about that? So
Getting PTSD if I was Vegas.
good. Let's keep it that way. I hope a 4-3 victory tonight. Anyway, 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. When we're coming off Padres off days, really like to dive into the rest of Major League Baseball a lot because it gives us an opportunity to talk about Major League Baseball in a nutshell. We talk a lot of Padres on the show. Don't necessarily get to dive into Major League Baseball, but we're at the quarter pole. We talked about this from a Padres perspective. We just talked about the Giants. They're in trouble. They're in trouble. I hope they just figure out that they're in trouble at the end of this week after they beat up on the Dodgers, hopefully for another couple of days. But there are 12 teams that are around 500, just above, that are off to pretty good starts that show that either they're a pretender or a contender. We're going to play contender versus pretender as we talk about the American League. So let's get after it.
Firing up the music.
Fire up the music.
Music has been fired.
All right.
We're at the quarter mark of the season. It's time to play our favorite game, Contender or Pretender. We're looking at every team sitting at 500 or better. So there's not going to be too many American League teams on here. Going to give you the quick for each team and roll on. So first, we will start with the American League Eastern Division leading Tampa Bay Rays. The Rays currently sit at 26-13. They just won 14 of their last 16 and now own the best record in the American League. Their pitching is elite, 5th in ERA. They slap the ball all over the yard and they steal bags like it's 2008. But the offense is only middle of the pack, and a few starters are pitching way above their pay grade. Contender or Pretender, the Tampa Bay Rays?
For the Tampa Bay Rays, I think they are a contender. I think they've played really good baseball so far this year. I think they're one of those teams you really can't officially rule out almost ever. They're 5th in team ERA with Rasmussen and McClanahan looking like legit frontline starters. Classic Rays offense, high batting average, low strikeouts, a lot of steals, kind of that small ball style of play that you see. They've won 14 out of the last 16 to grab the best record in the American League. Offensively ranks 18th in runs and OPS, but you know what? They have good pitching and they play solid baseball. They're going to be a contender, especially with the way how much of a mess the American League is this year. I'm going contender on the Rays. How about you?
I'm going contender too, because they don't have these teams all that often, but when they do, they always stick around. So I'm going to take the history of the Rays, because usually when they're like this, it is legit for the most part. Next up, the New York Yankees. Yankees are 26-15, leading the majors in home runs and slugging. Arson Fudge is obviously a monster, but Ben Rice, Cody Bellinger, and Ahmed Rosario are all producing too. Garrett Cole and Carlos Rodon are both coming back healthy, and the bullpen finally looks fixed. New York Yankees, contender or pretender?
They're a contender for sure, especially in the American League, the way it is. I mean, they have, Frank's favorite player, Aaron Judge, hitting at a high level of home runs. I mean, he is on pace to surpass the record that he already broke. They lead MLB in home runs, second in slugging, especially when you play in that ballpark. And it's not just Aaron Judge. I mean, Rice, Bellinger, Rosario are all producing. Virtual tie for first place in team ERA. Cole and Rodon both returning soon to this team. Bullpen finally fixed after last year's nightmare, as you mentioned, Frank. So I have the Yankees as a contender.
I agree.
I know you probably hate to agree to that.
Well, no, that's just being logical. They're not one of the worst teams. They're not pretending. They are as good as they are. The Los Clemente Athletics, currently sitting 2 games over 500 at 21-19. The only American League West team on this list. Their offense is 7th in OPS. The rotation is surprisingly solid outside of one guy, and they've barely played good teams yet. They lead the division by 2 games. Are they contenders or pretenders?
I think they are contenders because I think the division is not very good. And we thought the A's were going to give teams a run this year. We thought they were going to be a lot better. They got a lot of good young players. Best, or should I say, 7th in OPS with Langoliers and Kurtz and Soderstrom and Rooker. They're all streaky, but they're very capable of more power. And the rotation's been pretty decent once you ignore Jacob Lopez. Only played 9 games this year versus 500 teams that are 500 or better, which is still, it's still able to win games. They lead the weak AL West by 2 games. They haven't played that great of a schedule. They're 2 games above 500. I just think that division is not very good. I think they're going to contend. Are they going to win that division? No. But it's tough with the American. It's tough with the American League right now because everybody's below 500.
Yeah, everyone is god awful. To the only American League Central team on this list, the Cleveland Guardians do exist still. They are 21-21. Jose Ramirez and Steven Kwan are still great, but the offense as a whole ranks 22nd in runs and 23rd in OPS. The pitching is middle of the pack, and the division is wide open. Contender or pretender?
I think they're a pretender. I don't think Cleveland's very good. I think they are reaping the benefits right now of everybody else in their division being awful, at least record-wise.
At least Detroit for the very least.
Detroit, I think Detroit is going to finally figure it out. It sounds like Tarek Skubal could be coming back sooner than they initially expected. They have had so many injuries that they're still right there hanging with Cleveland. Like, once the Tigers start getting some players back, I think the Guardians are going to start falling off again. And, they're not. Usually, if you have like those low numbers and runs scored in OPS, it balances out by having an elite bullpen. They're like middle of the pack, and their rotation's okay. I don't think that being like not bad is going to be good enough for the Central. I think the Tigers are going to figure it out and pass them. I'm not thinking the Guardians are going to be real contenders in the American League.
It's another one of those teams like the Brewers you can never count out, but the Tigers are bad right now, not because they're bad, but because they got so many players, especially their starting pitchers, banged up. The Kansas City Royals aren't pitiful. The White Sox are decent enough to hang around. They're not the embarrassing 121 loss White Sox anymore. And the Twins are, well, at least were punching above their weight class. They're starting to fall off a little bit now. I could see them potentially sneaking in as the final wild card spot. As far as contending for a division title, I think that those hopes are dashed the second the Tigers are back up to full strength.
I think so too. I do. So out of the list, Rays are contenders, Yankees are contenders. I go mild contenders on the A's. I think they're going to hang around. I don't think the Guardians are contenders.
Really quick, foul on Wilson in the chat.
He draws the foul.
I'm like Emmanuel Clase betting on Cleveland.
That's a tech.
Yeah.
Come on. Is my inner sarcastic insert word here laughing inside? Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But
again, just because it's
rude.
Funny doesn't mean it's not a foul.
So rude. When we come back, we'll talk about the National League contenders and pretenders. We take a look around Major League Baseball. We'll also get to the sports thread as we continue on the Braden Surprenant Show. San Diego Sports Station 97 through the Fan. UCSD baseball just showed both sides of its identity in the same week. First, they dominated San Diego State 8-4 behind a huge night from Gabe Camacho and a pitching staff that didn't allow a hit through 6 innings. Then, against Cal State Bakersfield, they split the series, winning Game 1 behind strong pitching, but losing Game 2 after surrendering a 4-run lead and walking it off in the 9th. That's been the story of the season. Elite stretches on the mound, explosive offense at times, but late game inconsistency that's costing them series. Meanwhile, UCSD softball wrapped up its season with major Big West honors, including Malia Cherry's first team selection after a record-breaking power year. So is UCSD baseball one adjustment away from becoming a real contender, or still searching for that final layer of consistency? Statement win over the Aztecs on a Tuesday, and a good weekend for the Tritons against Cal State Bakersfield that has led to a nice reward for them at the end of the year. But they picked up a major midweek win against San Diego State, 8-4 at Triton Ballpark, splitting the season series. This one was controlled early. Tritons jumped ahead and held San Diego State hitless through the first 6 innings, finished with strong bullpen execution to close it out. Gabe Camacho, monster night, home run and a triple and 4 RBIs. Delshawn Lanier, 2 hits, an RBI and 2 runs. Addison Kleps, 2 walks, 2 runs, and the stolen base. And on the mound, it was total control. Nathan Reese, 3 scoreless, no hits. Connor Etnier, 3 scoreless, just 1 hit allowed. And Devin King, dominant 1-inning finish with 3 strikeouts on 11 pitches. Pitching staff, when they're locked in, they can completely erase opposing lineups early in games. But over the weekend, Frank, they were able to get a couple of wins, but also put themselves in a good position for a reward at the end of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. Cal State Bakersfield showed both sides of San Diego's UC San Diego's identity there. Game one, it was a 4-2 win. Strong pitching again, 14 strikeouts as a staff for the Tritons. Steele Murdoch, 9 strikeouts over 4 innings. Devin King closed for his second save, and timely hitting from Potestio and Lanier and Klepsich, giving them the win. A loss in game two, a late collapse. And now this is where concern shows up. Tritons led by 4 runs late, allowed 6 unanswered in the final innings, and lost on a walk-off 3-run homer in the 9th inning. Offense was there. Klepsich with 4 RBIs, a triple and a double. Jamori with an RBI triple, and Costello had 4 walks and 2 runs scored, but it did not hold. On Sunday, though, was the big day for the Tritons. They beat Cal State Bakersfield 15-2. The Tritons now at 22-25 overall, 16-11 in the Big West, tallied 14 hits and took advantage of the Roadrunners of 4 Roadrunner errors to take the finale and secure the 2-1 series win, with the Tritons now guaranteeing themselves a spot in the Big West Championship tournament later on this month.
Yeah, this team right now is built on extremes. Elite bullpen stretches like Etnier and Reese dominance, big offensive innings, 5 to 8 run bursts, but also late game volatility that costs series. They are competitive in every Big West matchup, but the difference between winning and losing often comes down to 1 inning of execution. As for softball, their end of the season as well as the other softball teams in town. UCSD softball wrapped up its season with both recognition and a tough postseason exit. Big West honors Malia Cherry, first team all conference. Zara Wasserman, second team. Haley Garcia, Tyler Arbuckle, honorable mention. Callie Howard, all freshman team. Standout season storylines. Cherry program record, 15 plus home runs, league leader in RBIs. Wasserman, 355 average with 13 doubles and consistent middle production. Garcia, team hits leader, elite run production and triples. And Howard, breakout freshman arm with multiple complete game efforts. If you look at the postseason, though, took UC Santa Barbara to the wire in a 10-9 thriller, but eliminated by Long Beach State 5-4 in a tight finish. This is a program trending upward. Power hitting is no longer occasional. It's expected. But the big question for UCSD, baseball in particular, is this team a true Big West contender being held back by late game execution, or are they still a year away from consistency? Right now, they can't dominate, but they also give games away late in series they should win. Should be interesting to see what they do in the Big West Championship, Frank. I'm looking for them to make a little bit of noise.
Yep, and that's excellent, and that's what's coming up next. The final stretch of Big West play coming up over the weekend. Remaining focus right now for them is closing out games and finishing series strong, positioning still on the line in the Big West Conference. For softball, their season is over. Their program now shifts into off-season development with major momentum that they were able to build over this season.
Broadcasting live from the Bill House Studios, we know how. All of our guests join us on the SDCCU fan hotline. It's not Big Bank Banking, it's better. Dodgers come to town on Monday through Wednesday next week for a showdown of the top 2 teams in the National League West. Limited tickets are still available. Don't let Dodger fans take over Petco Park. Get your tickets today at Padres.com/tickets. Take over Petco Park. They can't even fill their own stadium right now. Did you see the attendance last night for Dodgers and Giants? First sign of potential not being the greatest thing ever. Dodger fans, nowhere to be seen.
Bro, it's not a rivalry. Relax.
That's right. They can't take over the stadium if they show up in the 4th and leave in the 7th. Got to beat the traffic. Anyway, let's get back to the conversation at hand. There's a couple of things. Today's like you know what? Does MLB Network not talk about us at this point? They're constantly talking about the pods. Usually it's about trading Fernando to some team that doesn't need to have Fernando Tatis Jr. on their team. Harold Reynolds.
Or like the Boston Red Sox podcaster.
Oh, my God, dude. Enough.
Get this one.
Enough.
Get this. Fernando's getting traded to the Red Sox now, guys.
Oh, speaking of, there it is. At least it's a spring break. At least it's a swing breakdown.
With the manager who knows all the rules.
Yes. You know what? He's got a good swing breakdown, though. Anyway. So let's talk about the we're going to go back to the contenders and pretenders in a second. And Brian Kenny had something today on the pods about why they're still able to win. We got Mark DeRosa breaking down Fernando Tatis Jr. swing and why he hasn't hit any home runs yet. I mean, there's a lot of they're talking about Mason Miller so far. I mean, it's a Padres day today. We appreciate it. Thanks for giving us the extra coverage. All right. We talked about the American League contenders versus pretenders. Let's talk about the National League. Fire up the music.
More music.
We
More
love
music, always better. All right. The Atlanta Braves,
28-13 at the moment.
the Braves have a ridiculous plus 87 run differential right now. They've got the best offense in baseball. Matt Olson, Drake Baldwin, Ozzie Albies, Michael Harris, all raking, and their bullpen is filthy. Ronald Acuna still working his way back from his annual IL stint, and a couple of guys are playing over their potential. Braves, contender, pretender. They've already won the division.
They already won their division. Definitely a contender situation. 100%. Best offense in baseball right now. Bullpen is elite. I mean, the team is legit. Barring any injuries, which you have to say with the Braves because they get hurt a lot. So, in on that. I think they're going to be a contender.
The Chicago Cubbies are next. They are 27-14. They have the best on-base percentage in baseball, third in runs scored. Michael Busch, Alex Bregman, and Pete Crow Armstrong are all clicking, and their defense is maybe the best in the league. The bullpen is healthy. The rotation, had depth, but three key arms are hurt. Cubbies, contender or pretender?
I think they can slug their way to being a contender in the National League. I just don't know if their pitching is going to hold up because they have had catastrophic arm issues so far to start the year, and that's a problem. Isn't that a problem? Everybody always says it's a problem when you don't have enough pitching.
It's not necessarily all arm issues, as we found out with one Mr. Boyd last week.
Yeah, also true. Don't play with your kids, I guess, if you're a professional baseball player.
Don't play with your kids. Don't sit on the ground. Don't do anything.
Anyway, I think they're a contender because of their offense. I don't know how far they can make. They'll contend to at least the trade deadline for sure, and then they'll probably add up some arms, and that will be it for the Cubs. I think they got a good, solid team. I mean, we watched them play here. They're good.
Yes.
They're going to be a problem to deal with. They're a contender.
They always are good. Next up,
The two-time reigning defending champions, the Dodgers of Los Angeles, are 24-16. 24-17 now, I believe. They started 15-4, but have cooled off and are just 9-12 over their last 21, but still sit in great position with a plus 69 run differential. Nice. You really want to bet against the defending champs. Why do all of these articles make it sound so smug?
Because they pretend that they're like, they get the success with the Dodgers. They're contenders. I don't know why we even have to address this one.
Moving on, the Padres are 24.
By the way, they lost their 69 run differential to 63 now.
Not nice. Padres are 24-16, but their offense is straight up ugly.
It's
dead last in OPS plus. Tatis, Machado, and Merrill have all been quiet, and the rotation is thin once you get past Michael King. Their bullpen, shout out to Mason Miller, has been carrying them the entire way. Contender or pretender?
I think the Padres are a contender. I think their offense is going to improve drastically because I don't think Tatis, Machado, and Merrill are going to underperform the entire year. I really don't. It doesn't sound like that from a lot of other national entities that they believe that this is going to be the case. And right now they're winning games despite all of that, which I think is a positive sign for things to come. I think the fact that the Padres are winning despite not getting a lot of good production out of their offense shows that they're going to be a contender in the long run. Plus, I think they're going to make some moves at the deadline, and we will see when that happens. But I think the Padres are a contender. Obviously, the offense is brutal right now, but the difference is they're actually getting the production from the other parts of the offense. And once the stars start to show up, I think that's going to lead to more wins.
Yeah, we have not seen we've not spoken yet of a single team that we do not expect to be in the playoffs in this National League.
I think those are all given teams at the beginning of the season anyway.
This is going to be very NL Central centric for the rest of the way. The Milwaukee Brewers, who the Padres see next, are 22-16. They've had every kind of streak imaginable. They just swept the Yankees and got Jackson Chourio and Andrew Vaughn back healthy. Jacob Mizorowski, who the Padres will see tomorrow, looks like an ace, and this team has a history of overachieving. Brewers do it again, pretender or contender.
I never know what I'm going to get out of the Milwaukee Brewers. I feel if I call them a pretender, they'll sweep the Padres this week. So I think they are a contender because they're the team that's always around every year, always around. I like today, the Padres announced that Bradley Rodriguez was going to open, right? And we were discussing this before the show started, Adam and I. And he goes, well, who's like the top of their lineup that you want to get out immediately before Waldron comes in? It was like hard to you're trying to like look through it and find the guys on the team that are like Jackson the big
Chourio,
guys.
Bryce Terang.
Some of them are not off to like the starts that you would expect them to be off to.
Yelich is hurt.
Yelich is hurt.
With him.
I mean, you look at their overall numbers, it's nothing that jumps off the page, but yet here they are continuing to win. Here they are continuing to be part of the conversation. I think they're a contender.
I would agree. The St. Louis Cardinals, who we just saw, 23-17, 6 games over 500, but their run differential says they should be 500, period. Jordan Walker and Ivan Herrera are flashing, not in that way. And Riley O'Brien is a great closer story, but the National League Central is a clown show right now, not in a bad way either. Contender or pretender?
I think the Cardinals are pretenders because I don't think they're going to be able to hold up for the rest of the year. I do think next year there'll be somebody to be worried about. And the year after that, their young core is very good. They just continue to look like they strike me as like the 2019 Padres, young, exciting, but the pitching staff's not going to be able to hold up for the entire season. So Cardinals, I think, are pretenders.
Yeah, I would agree. They are punching over their weight class right now. We expected them to be stone dead last this year, expect them to lose near 100 games. They are definitely outperforming what the expectation was for them so far. I would say it's the first real pretender. Pittsburgh Pirates are 22-19 with the toughest schedule in baseball so far. Paul Skeens is back to being Paul Skeens. Mitch Keller and Braxton Ashcraft are dealing, and the offense is somehow 6th in OPS thanks to O'Neal Cruz, not his defense, and Brandon Lau. Pittsburgh Pirates, contender or pretender?
Pirates are pretenders. I know they have a good, solid starting rotation, but we do this with the Pirates almost every year. I don't think they're there yet. I really don't. I consider them to be pretenders at this point. So I don't think that the Central is a little overinflated right now, but if you look at they all have winning records. Pittsburgh's 3 games above 500. Cincinnati's 3 games above 500. The Cardinals are whatever they are. They're a little bit more than that, but most of these teams are flirting around 500, which means I think eventually they're going to come back down to earth just as much as I don't think 75% of the American League is going to finish below 500. Cardinals, Pirates, those are 2 teams to me that are going to come back down to earth and be pretenders.
The Pirates, I think especially, they have good pitching. Their team just feels a little older and a little bit like a step back, especially when you compare them to St. Louis, who are young and have a lot of upside. I don't see that upside with the Pirates the way I do with St. Louis. So I would, if the Cardinals are pretenders for punching over their weight class, the Pirates are contenders because I don't see the ceiling being higher than St. Louis at the current moment. Cincinnati Reds are also 22-19. The Reds were 20-11 in April. They lost their first. They lost their first 8 games in May. Hunter Green and Nick Lodolo are hurt. The offense is thin, and they are 3-10 against good teams. Ellie De La Cruz is still a video game character, but his supporting cast is quiet. Pittsburgh, Cincinnati Reds, contender or pretender?
I think they're pretenders too. I just don't think they have enough. I really don't. I mean, you mentioned Hunter Green and Nick Lodolo are hurt, and the offense is thin. I just don't think they, out of all those teams in the Central, I think they have the worst chance. And they made the playoffs last year. Mm-hmm. I don't think they have enough to be able to survive the season. Again, they have a winning record. I just don't think that's going to be the case. So I consider the Reds to be a pretender.
Have you seen the connection between the Cincinnati Reds and Spirit Airlines?
Oh, they haven't won since Spirit went under or something?
Yeah, they have not won since Spirit Airlines went under. Correct. Well, they had now won 2, but they were 0-8 on May 9th when in the disappearance of Spirit Airlines.
The disappearance. We don't know where they went. They're gone now.
Yeah, no, they're just gone.
All right, so go back to the list. Top 4 teams on there we all thought are contenders anyway.
Braves, Cubs, Dodgers, Padres, yes.
Yes. I think the Brewers are a contender. I'm not a believer in the Cardinals, Pirates, or the Reds. And the fact that there's no NL East teams on there is because none of them are above 500, except for the Braves. If you had to pick one team out of the National League East to get
Phillies
back into the conversation, I would also pick the Phillies. I don't think the Phillies are going to be as bad as they've been all year. I really don't.
No.
All right, we have a couple of minutes, and I do want to get to this particular clip from Brian Kenny because we have enough time to play it. Padres are in first place, surprisingly, and there's not a lot of reason why they should be in first place. On MLB Central today, not only has MLB Network just talked about the Padres a lot today, but on MLB Central, they talked about how the Padres have been able to be 8 games above 500 despite their offense and their stars not performing. Here's Brian Kenny.
Here's what's interesting. If you just saw the Padres passing the Dodgers in the standings, you think, all right, Machado is probably killing it. Jackson Merrill's breaking out. Tatis is back, but nope. Sandro Bogarts is having a nice year, back playing shortstop. Funny thing is, though, besides Bogarts, no one is really hitting. Not that much. I mean, of the regulars, 2 Padres, 2 are hitting. Only Xander Bogaerts and Miguel Andujar are above league average. 100 is league average for OPS plus. Ramon Laureano, Gavin Sheets, they're right, 94, 91. It's not bad. But Merrill, Machado, Tatis, look, Jake Cronenworth, who's a nice player, 35. He's hurt now, but wow. So they're not hitting. And this is a bad news, good news situation. The bad news is they're not hitting. The good news is they're not hitting, but they're winning. So when you see this, you think, all right, so the pitching is great, right? No, not exactly. Michael King, Randy Vasquez, they've been quite good, but that's about it. So you think, oh, the defense and the base running is great, right? No, both are above average, but nothing crazy. The bullpen, all right, yeah, that's a different story. Now, the Padres are 8th in bullpen ERA overall. Top 3rd, but not elite. The difference, though, is in high leverage. Their bullpen A squad is elite. Remember, the Padres gave up top prospect Leo DeVries to get Mason Miller at last year's deadline. Miller is delivering 12 for 12 in saves this year, 0.96 ERA, number 1 strikeout percentage in the game. So what am I saying? I'm saying maybe the overall bullpen ERA is 8th, but in winning time, A squad, that bullpen is better than 8th. The question is, right? Always. We ask it on the show all the time. What do you need to win? And is that the magic elixir, right? Because they're not hitting, not pitching that great. Here's the Padres in the snapshot because they're winning. They're 29th in hitting. OPS plus 29th. Run differential, they're only plus 3, right? That's like a 500 club, should be. Base running runs, 6th. Starting pitcher ERA, 24th. And bullpen, as I mentioned, relief pitcher ERA is 8th. Defensive runs saved, plus 8. They're 13th. So it's not a great club if you just looked at this, plus 3 run differential. All this could tell you that the Padres are overperforming, getting fortunate. I hate to say lucky, but I don't know about that. This is a good team. 5 comebacks this year where they were down 4 or more runs. Remember the Malays team that I mentioned from 2022? That team didn't do that all year. It'll be fascinating to see if they've latched onto something, having just enough to compete all through the roster with a killer high-leverage bullpen.
Bullpen. Is that what it is? Is that the key to success?
No.
Brian Kenny was losing his mind with all the numbers he was putting out there.
Key to success, you know what it is.
What is
Trading Fernando
Tatis
God Jr.
Stop.
That is the key to success for this team.
I don't like sarcastic, Frank. I really don't.
It's not sarcastic, Frank. This is MLB Network, Frank.
Oh, that's even worse.
MLB Network pundit.
Oh, no.
Trade Fernando and you're instantly a playoff team.
I would rather have Big Ten PR Frank than have to listen to whatever MLB Network Frank is. No, thank you. No, thank you. That's a foul. I agree. That's a foul. 100%.
He draws the foul.
100%. What the biggest takeaway from that clip was?
They're overperforming for what they should be doing. And when you're overperforming by this high a level, it's not sustainable. It's going to come crashing down. So the parts that are below average, which there are a lot, are going to need to start contributing if you want to stay at this level, which is why we're saying that if the Padres go 500 in the month of May and 500 in the month of June, you're in a really, really good spot because you cannot sustain winning like this. We talked about it earlier in the show. You cannot have the bullpen consistently in high leverage situations night after night because they're going to implode at some point and you're not going to be able to get it back.
I thought Tom Krasovic laid this out in the Union Tribune, and I think it makes a lot of sense. I think the veteran presence brings a lot to this team. Teams that usually win throughout the year and win during the playoffs have a lot of veteran players that have been there and done that before and know how to win. And I think that's a factor that you don't see on a stat sheet and you don't see on paper roster card, and something that you always, as a person, overlook is that veteran presence. I mean, if you look at that Cubs team that won a World Series in 2016, yes, they had some good, young, talented players. They had a lot of players that have been there and done that before that they brought in. If you look at a lot of these teams that have won World Series, they have these, at the deadline, they go get veteran players that have won the playoffs before, or they are surrounded by veteran players and guys that have logged a lot of innings, a lot of pitches in Major League Baseball. And this team has that. But not only do they have that, they have the younger version of that. They got experienced players. And I think that's important for having success in Major League Baseball. I think it's I don't think it's everything. They absolutely have to hit. They absolutely have to hit. But I think that's a big reason why they have been able to win despite not playing to their best potential.
I agree.
Padres got the Brewers tonight, tomorrow, and Thursday. We get a preview of the Milwaukee Brewers when we go talk with their broadcaster and Jeff Levering. He joins us next on the Braden Surprenant Show, San Diego's number sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
go. It's time to fire it up. From the beaches to the ballparks, from the Gaslamp to North County, no one knows America's finest city like he does.
You can't just punt on a Manny Machado prime use.
He's a fourth-generation San Diegan, born and raised in the heart of this community. Passionate, opinionated, and always bringing you the real talk on your teams, your city, and everything in between.
Braden totally knows his stuff. He's ready for the next step. That guy is good.
Live and local, it's the Braden Surprenant Show.
But I think Braden's one of the up-and-coming young stars in the media game in San Diego.
Now, here's your host, Braden Surprenant.
New Lunchtime Hour on the Fan is brought to you by the Craft Taco, bold flavors, 2 locations, Sorrento Valley and inside Balboa Park's Natural History Museum.
I'm waiting for the tacos. Where the damn tacos at?
He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. It's the Braden Surprenant Show, live and local each and every day from 10 to 2 on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. We are broadcasting live from the Bill House Studios. We know how. And joining us now on the SDCCU Fan Hotline, it's not Big Bank Banking, it's better. Milwaukee Brewers broadcaster Jeff Levering giving us a preview of Padres and Brewers as the Pods are on the road in Wisconsin to take on the Milwaukee Brewers for the next 3 days. We bring in Jeff. Jeff, what's going on? Hopefully your Tuesday's going well. Thanks again for joining us today.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me. The roof is closed today for all you San Diegans out there. This is what a roof looks like in May when you've got some rain in the forecast. So no big deal. See if the ball's flying tonight.
We appreciate that. I would like to. What is rain that you speak of?
June gloom. That's what that is.
Aha, there you
that's
go.
What you guys talk about. Hey, I had spent a lot of my life in California, man.
Yeah.
I know what the phrases are.
Well, Jeff, we have the May Gray today out here in San Diego. So a little bit on the cooler side than it usually is. The May Gray that leads into the June gloom. But Padres will start their series against the Milwaukee Brewers. Jeff, we talk about the Brewers on our show a lot as the team that will, it seems like they're always around despite maybe some, bigger names that end up departing either via free agency or maybe a trade. Milwaukee consistently puts together very competitive and very good baseball teams, the young core. What has been the biggest reason really for this Milwaukee Brewers success over the course of the last 5, 6, 7 years, where they just seem to be around and always around near the end?
Just feels like an opportunity is available for anybody that comes and plays for the Brewers, and the leash is a little longer for the players that the Brewers go and get, right? So when you think about guys that have been in their bullpen that have resurrected careers, or potential starters that are now in the bullpen, an 0 for 30 in a big market gets you sent back down, but an 0 for 30 here in Milwaukee may just give you a day off. It's not necessarily going to send you down to AAA. I just think that the leash is a little longer here in Milwaukee. I will say this too, that the organization has done an amazing job of bringing in the right type of people. And it's a credit to the front office. It's a credit to the coaching staff, and especially for Pat Murphy, who's been a part of this thing since 2016. He just has the right way to go about getting the best out of his players. And yeah, you don't get to the big leagues by accident. You don't luck your way into the big leagues. You have to earn your way there, but you really have to earn your way to stay there. And I think Murph has a great way of getting the best out of all the players that he has on his roster.
That goes into what my follow-up question, well, it's now going to be a follow-up question, but my next question was going to be, obviously, Craig Counsell had a lot of success with the Brewers. He moves on. He goes to Chicago to be the Cubs manager. Pat Murphy, just right there from the bench role. You guys, the Brewers hire from within. He has done an excellent job. And you've kind of already alluded to it, but what makes, and we saw him here in San Diego. He was a bench coach here in San Diego. He filled in a couple of times as an interim manager as well. What have you noticed the most to kind of go more into detail about what it's like for these players to play for Pat Murphy and why he has had so much success?
But I think players love Murph. Now, listen, I know a lot of people that played for him in college. I know a lot of people that have known him over the course of his career. If you ask Craig Counsell what kind of head coach he was at Notre Dame, he would probably tell you that he hated playing for him. That's one of those things. You either love him or you absolutely hate him. But I do think that in his advanced years, he's 67 years old now, he's lightened up and he knows what it's like from a college standpoint. He knows what it's like to coach at the Division III level. He knows what it's like to coach at the Division I level, coach at the lower levels of the minor leagues, all the way up to the big leagues. He trusts his players to do it themselves more than anything. And I think that there was a time in his career where he would wear every single win and every single loss, and it was on him. I think now it's more, okay, how can I put my players in the best position to succeed, not just in the game that particular day, but in life too. I just think he surrounds himself with such great people that allows him to be the best possible manager that he can be. And that only comes with time and learning experience. I think he's done that to a T.
We're talking with Jeff Levering. He is the Milwaukee Brewers broadcaster, joining us on the SDCC Fan Hotline. Get a preview of Padres and Brewers. Before we talk about the offense, a lot of very young pitching staff for the Milwaukee Brewers. They do have some good veteran arms as well, but it's a lot of young players a part of this staff. We will see a handful of these players this week. What can you tell us about some of these players that maybe Padres fans might not know about? I mean, obviously, Mizorowski is a guy that is always flashing the radar gun and is talked about in the national media, but a lot of great young arms for this Milwaukee Brewers starting rotation. That's probably a big reason why they have the record that they have.
And nobody in the rotation coming into the season, with the exception of Brandon Woodruff, had more than one full year of major league experience. And that included Quinn Priester and even Chad Patrick was a rookie last year. Kyle Harrison, who I'm sure Padres fans are very aware of for his time in the Giants organization. He made 24 starts a couple of years ago in the big leagues, but everybody else is pretty unproven. So getting the opportunity, I think the Brewers are very versatile with what they have in the bullpen. They've got guys who can come in for 3 innings and close out a game, or like Chad Patrick this last weekend against the Yankees, he can come in and throw 3 innings or get 12 outs in the middle of a game. It's just a great group, and what our pitching group has done with starters, and yes, they've had some frontline guys with Corbin Burns and Freddie Peralta, and of course Brandon Woodruff, who's still with the Brewers. They have hit on a lot of these guys, but once they get to Milwaukee, and you could say this about anybody, whether it's Jared Koenig, who I'm watching go throw a bullpen here pretty soon, who was an unknown and independent league guy, and the Brewers have just found a way to maximize whatever they get out of these guys. A DFA guy in Trevor McGill. Last year's bullpen was the all DFA squad because they'd all been DFA'd at some point over the course of their career. They just find a way to get the best out of these guys. And I think for the starting rotation, they have that leash. They understand what they have. They understand how good they can be. You just got to go let the chips fall where they may and let the stuff play.
We're talking with Jeff Levering, giving a preview of Brewers and Padres this week. Always a fun time when the two duel it out on the baseball diamond. Let's talk about from the offense perspective. I mean, we talked about the young arms. They got a nice young core as well. A good group that looks to be like they could be together for a handful of years here with not a lot of guys on expiring contracts. What has it been like for the fans to watch this youthful group go out there and compete every day? And what has it been like for you to call some of these young, talented players you get to see on a daily basis?
Yeah, it's the last couple of seasons where they don't hit a ton of homers, but they find different ways to score runs. And for the Brewers, it's the same thing this year. Jake Bauers is their team leader with 6 home runs at this point. We're almost a quarter of the way through the season. But you see a lot of bunting. You see a lot of base running, a lot of stolen bases, taking an extra base here and there. It's a fun way to watch a team try and win. It's almost like throwback college baseball before the gorilla ball metal bat era. This is how you won college baseball games. It really was. It was how you won Major League Baseball games in the Whitey Herzog era with the Cardinals. It's fun. It is entertaining. I think the fan base loves it. They love the action that happens. Not a ton of strikeouts, a lot of walks, pressuring pitching stabs and getting into a bullpen early in a series so that your bullpen is taxed. I think the Brewers just find ways to win and put pressure on you. And when you come into a series with the Brewers, whether it's 3 games or 4 games, that opposing team feels the after effects of that series, not just for that series, but I think afterwards too.
What do the Brewers have to do in 2026 to overcome? I mean, they've made the playoffs, almost every year except for 2022, dating back to 2018. haven't been able to reach that World Series threshold. I mean, we here in San Diego deal with a lot of the same things. I mean, Mariners have never done it in the American League. But this is a young core that has had now some experience playing together. They're in the right direction. They're near the top of baseball almost every single year. What for you that you have noticed that needs what needs to be the difference this year in 2026 for them to raise a National League pennant?
Not run into the Dodgers in the postseason. I mean, it really is simple as that. I mean, you went into 23 against the Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks were hot. The Brewers lost Brandon Woodruff right at that moment. You went into 2024 and you're in game 3 of the wild card series against the Mets, and you've got a lead, and Devin Williams blows it. Pete Alonso hits a 3-run homer, and that's the end of your season. Last year ran into the Dodgers, and they just pitched the heck out of baseball, and they go to the World Series and win the World Series for a second consecutive year. The Brewers lost in 2021 to the Braves, who ended up winning the World Series. 2 years ago, when they lost to the Mets, it was the first time in their franchise history, including last year, that the team that knocked them out of the playoffs either didn't win the World Series or go to the World Series. So, I mean, you just have bad draws sometimes. And I think for the Brewers, they've had some tough draws in the postseason. But their brand of baseball wins not just in the regular season, it wins in the postseason too. They just haven't had the success in the postseasons you'd like to see.
Yeah, we talk about that here in San Diego. The draw that they got in the World Series in '84 and '98, not necessarily the greatest draws either. So we feel you on that one with some of the playoff draws that we have gotten in the city as well. Jeff, I appreciate the time. Have a good call for this week against the Pods. Thanks again for joining us, and look forward to talking to you again maybe later in the year when you're out here in San Diego.
You got it. I appreciate the time. Thanks, guys.
Jeff Levering joining us on the SDCCU Fan Hotline. He is the broadcaster for the Milwaukee Brewers. Should be a fun series this week between the Padres and the Brew Crew. Brewers are good. They got a good young core around them. They have good starting pitching, also young. And you heard him say it. They play a old school style of baseball. Very old school style of baseball. Back in the old school days, they were in the American League. The current American League, not very good. Why is the American League so bad? We'll talk about that later on in this hour. Plus, Buster Olney was on with Gwen and Chris yesterday. Interesting story about Fernando Tatis Jr. that might be why he has changed his swing a little bit. We'll talk about that when we come back on the Braden Surprenant Show. San Diego's Urban Sports Station, 97.3 The Fan. College sports getting bigger and maybe more corporate than ever. College Football Coaches Association wants an even larger playoff, wants conference championship games eliminated, and wants the season done earlier in January. At the same time, March Madness is officially expanding from 68 to 76 teams next season. More playoff games, more tournament games, more TV inventory, and of course, more money. Supporters say this gives more athletes opportunities. Critics say it waters down what made these events special in the first place because, let's be honest, if conference title games disappear and March Madness keeps growing, college sports starts looking a lot like professional sports. So are these expansions improving college athletics or slowly erasing the traditions fans actually care about? Let's talk about college football first. It could be getting even bigger. The American Football Coaches Association is pushing for major changes to the future of college football and their playoff. The Coaches Association wants to maximize the number of playoff teams, eliminate conference championship games, and finish the season by the second Monday in January. While the AFCA doesn't officially make the NCAA rules, its recommendations often influence future changes because coaches sit on major committees throughout college football. The organization didn't specify whether or not they endorsed the 16 or the 2014 playoff, but it made clear that expansion is a priority. And I look at this, Frank, and I like all of these ideas that they throw out there. I think it levels the playing field a little bit if you put in the correct playoff format with the amount of teams. I like being done by the second Monday in January. I also do not care about conference championship games. So overall, I like what the coaches have proposed, but again, things are trending in the direction of they need to expand the college football playoff, or they are going to expand the college football playoff.
Yeah, especially now, college football, conference championship games don't necessarily matter. I mean, it's not like an East and West. You're not playing two separate conference schedules. You're not fighting to see who number one is. It's all just one. It's all one championship, except for the Sun Belt. So at that point, when you don't have divisions breaking your conference up, there really is no point in a conference championship game. It's just another game. More playoff teams, I think, is right, especially if implemented correctly and not just given to a 6-6 SEC or Big Ten team. I don't mind any of the changes that are being proposed, but knowing the way college football is and the way college athletics are and television companies getting in the mix, I don't see them making these correct changes correctly.
No, I don't think so either. I think there's just too much influence. And here's the other thing, too, about the 2014 playoff. What I like about it, if they, again, do it properly, is it eliminates the win off the field gets you past. And it also opens up a window of, an opportunity where, you get to see teams that actually earn it on the field, right? I mean, that's where you want in college football. The other thing, too, for anybody that's against the whole, like, oh, it's going to ruin the regular season, it might ruin the regular season for like 3% of college teams. 97% of college teams in college football are going to be playing for something a little bit more at this point in time. Like, if all of a sudden you got teams that are battling for spots in the college football playoffs. So I like the expansion to 24. I think it needs to happen. I think it's needed to happen for a long period of time. The conference championship games don't make sense because these conferences are so big, and there's no, like you mentioned, there's no divisions or anything like that. It's not like it's an eliminator or a qualifier for anything. So make these all automatic qualifiers, get the politics out of college football, and let them earn it on the field. And I think a lot of fans will like it, despite it seeming like it's an NFL light or a junior NFL. I think a lot of people just want to see a clear path to a potential opportunity for a championship. Now, from that perspective, I'm against March Madness officially expanding, and that's where we kind of try to transition into basketball. The NCAA officially announced that both the men's and women's basketball tournaments will expand from 68 teams to 76 teams beginning next season. This marks the biggest expansion for the men's tournament since the field jumped to 64 teams in 1985. New format adds more opening round games, more at-large opportunities, additional television inventory for broadcast partners. Only 52 teams will now automatically reach the traditional round of 64 compared to 60 under the current system. I hate this. I don't think this is great. I understand why they're doing it, but if they were doing it to give more opportunities for the Big West or the West Coast Conference out here on the West Coast of the Mountain West, some mid-major conferences that probably deserve it, all right, it makes sense. But to do it for more mediocre Power 4 schools, this is a joke. I can't. I'm totally against expanding the NCAA tournament, and I think it is not for the better.
Yeah, no, this is just foolish. I don't understand. You already have so many of these teams making it already. The tournament's always great, and what's the one thing they always say about Cinderellas and high seeds playing low seeds? Nobody wants to see these. They're just going to be blowouts. Okay, so you've created a situation now where there's going to be even more blowouts in the tournament, and for even longer too, and not just the first couple of rounds. So this is just a money grab, a disgusting money grab, and too many teams with too much influence last year didn't make it. So now everything's got to change.
Yeah, and I think it's dumb. I just the impact on the mid-major programs, and here's the difference. 12:19 on a Tuesday. Padres, Brewers, 4:40 today. Equal Water SoCal Padres pregame show with Sam Levitt at 3:40. Game 1. Sounds like Matt Waldron might get the bulk of the innings today, but it's going to be Bragley Rodriguez to start the game today. They're going against Brandon Sprout, who's 0-2 with a 5.87 ERA. We'll talk more about the Brewers-Padres series coming up later on in the 1 o'clock hour. Brewers plus 54 in the run differential, which is a massive change or difference between than the Padres +3 on the run differential. But if you look at a guy like Brandon Sprout, young Brewers arm, swing and miss ability, home run issues. Left-handed hitters have crushed him so far. Opportunity for the Padres if they can actually capitalize offensively. Maybe this is exactly what the doctor ordered. Got to get the Padres offense going. Big component of that is Fernando Tatis Jr. Need to get him going, especially in the home run statistic. Maybe he hits a home run today against Sprout. He's not a left-handed hitter, but guy gives up a lot of home runs. I think Fernando's close after Sunday. It's one of many stars that are struggling right now. Ketel Marte is struggling for the Diamondbacks. Cal Raleigh is not playing well. Rafael Devers, of course, isn't playing well for the Giants. MLB reporter for ESPN, Buster Olney, was on with Gwynn and Chris yesterday. He talked a little bit about Fernando, why he believes Fernando's going to be okay, and an interesting story that he has about Fernando Tatis Jr. that he told on Gwynn and Chris yesterday. We're going to play it right now.
How much longer do you think it's going to be before he takes off? Because it just seems like, this can only last for so long with a talent like this.
I agree with you. I think it's only a matter of time. And far be it from me, I didn't play. I was, didn't make it past junior varsity. But when I see him hit, he strikes me as being someone who, as he gets older, I like the at-bats. I like the, I believe in the talent in the same way that I would. I mean, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. has, 2 home runs this year? And we saw how great he was at the end of last year. And at some point, they figure it out. Great hitters figure it out at some point. I know every time that, people talk about his power, they always bring up the PED suspension. I think that is completely separate from what we're seeing because he's hit home runs since he came back. I think it's about, the approach. I think it's about the swing. And I think the guy's going to figure it out. And part of the reason why that I believe that is because it feels like there's a humility in his approach. I remember talking to him last year about, a conversation he had with his dad going in 2025. And his dad says, you think you're a good hitter? And he said, yeah. And his dad was like, no, you're not. And they were picking it apart. And this was volunteered to me by Taddy. Okay. He's telling me this, which tells you a lot about his mindset, that he's open-minded to change. So I think the guy's going to figure it out.
How about that for a story? I find it to be very interesting. You look at Fernando Tatis Jr. and what he has done, obviously over the course of his career, right? The big year in 2021. I mean, I agree with Buster Olney. I don't think this is part of the PED problem, right? Because at the same time, he's still swinging faster than he's ever swung. He's hitting the ball harder than he's ever hit. He still had to physically hit the ball. And so with the PED suspension, it's not like he hadn't hit home runs since the PED suspension. He's hit over 20 home runs every year since. And has had over 20 home runs every single year with the exception of 2020 when he only played in 59 games because there was only 60 games in the regular season. But how about that? How about his dad? Now, his dad, Fernando Tatis Sr., how much do you know about Fernando Tatis Sr., Frank?
He wasn't a superstar player. He was an average, slightly above average player. He was a journeyman, played for a lot of different teams, of course, has the Grand Slam record, but I wouldn't consider him like a legend of the sport or a baseball guru in layman's terms. I mean, I'm sure he has a lot of knowledge, but he wouldn't be one of the first people I would think of to go to if I had a baseball question looking for an answer from a superstar or a big name player.
Well, there's a couple of things I could pick out of that. First of all, no, he was not a great player. He's a solid player. I mean, if you go over his numbers, he had a career 6.3 WAR, his career numbers 265 with a 785 OPS. His time with St. Louis, he had a 914 OPS over 3 years. He had an 813 OPS year with Baltimore, even though that was a very small sample. I mean, the guy had a 101 OPS plus, so he's slightly above an average Major League Baseball but when you play 11 years in Major League Baseball at an average level, it's a really good career. Now,
he has solid career.
Here's the other thing too, and I think there's multiple ways that you can look at this. I think his dad at this point, and when you ask him, when he asked his son about, and this is just going off of the story that Buster only mentioned, do you think you're a good hitter? He said, yeah. Fernando Jr. said, yeah. And Senior said, no, you're not a good hitter. I think that could be the reason why he, since 2025, right? I mean, he said that before the 2025 season. Like last year was the first time you started to see Fernando turn into an all-around hitter and not just a feast or famine home run guy or power guy that strikes out a ton. And I think he's changed his approach a little bit. That could be the big reason why he's not in home run mode. But I think it has really helped him out with his plate discipline. I think it's helped him out with his overall approach at the plate. I mean, as of right now, like the couple of recency games, people are going to, say, I don't know what I'm talking about. I mean, he looked like he's pressing his last couple of games or leading up to really Sunday's game. I thought Sunday he looked better than he has had in the last couple of weeks. But when you talk about players in Major League Baseball, or just former players that go then teach. Like everybody just assumes that the best players have the most to offer because of the best players. That's not always the case. Like I understand from a perspective of, if his dad had Pujols' career, you'd be like, oh man, he's got to listen to this guy, right? He's had a great career. There's something to be said though about athletes. Like not every athlete can go then be a coach.
Wayne Gretzky was a failure as an NHL coach.
There's a lot of those guys because there's a lot of guys who are not big technique players because they're naturally gifted and they're naturally athletic.
There's a great story that NASCAR driver Kenny Wallace, who was the youngest of three, it was his brother Mike and Rusty Wallace, who was the biggest name. He was having a problem. The car back end would step out. It would get loose coming off the corner, and he would back off to let the car settle before he went. So he asked his older brother, Rusty, how do you do it? How do you keep control of a car and keep the speed? He goes, well, you just let it walk out to the wall. Okay, cool. How do you do that? I don't know. You just do it.
You just do it.
Yeah, you just do it. You just let it go. Let it go up out there. And he never got it. So that is all that story to tell you that, yes, there are some guys that just do it naturally that don't know how they do it, therefore aren't going to be able to teach it, even though they are just that naturally gifted talent.
I see that all the time. I see at the high school level, of course, there's a lot of guys that play in the National Football League that are very good coaches. There's guys that play in the National Football League that are good coaches because the disconnect from some of the superstar athletes is they're just so naturally gifted, they could do things that people can't do. And so they just do it. And that's why they question, why can't you just do this? Well, I don't know. Maybe because it's almost impossible. I have players on my team right now that could do things that nobody else can do. I can't teach that as a technique. It's not a technique. And there's a lot of athletes that get to the next level, that get to Major League Baseball that are very good technically, that are able to, because they know how to, they're smart and they know how to, use the technique properly, have the proper swing path, have the proper stand. These guys know what they're talking about. They got there because they're very talented and they're very skilled, not just a super athlete. So I can't look at Fernando Tatis Sr.'s numbers and be like, he doesn't know what he's talking about. He's not very good. Because he could know what he's talking. I don't know. I've never talked to the guy. So he's done a good job managing down in the Dominican, right? Guys listen to him about hitting and everything like that. So, because I've seen this conversation before with people. They're like, oh, Fernando's dad wasn't very good. Wasn't that great of a player. He's not a superstar. So, like, what is he listening to his dad for?
Just 'cause
his dad could have made, like, you don't know that the numbers that Fernando Tatis Sr. put up were not because he was technically sound. You don't know that, right? I mean, that could be like the big reason why he has the numbers that he has. Why he was able to play 11 years in the big leagues was because he knew how to hit, he knew the proper swing path, all that stuff. He just wasn't as talentedly gifted as his son. And so maybe he does have something to say about the matter. It's the same thing with Steven Souza Jr., right? Some criticisms from people about Steven Souza Jr. being the hitting coach is like, what is he possibly teaching Manny? He's not nearly as good of a player as Manny is. Yeah, but he had to be good in he had to be good with the swing. He had to be smart. So learn from some of the best. That doesn't mean he can't teach it. So when I look at this conversation that Buster Olney had with Quinn and Chris, and I hear the story about Fernando telling him that his dad asked him if he thought he was a good hitter, and Junior said yes, and Senior said no, and they just broke down his game. I could see why this is a little bit of an adjustment in terms of the overall body of work that Fernando has had. And you saw that last year, and right now he's working through it. And I think he is, based on some observations I have now had of watching him work closely, he looks more coachable than I think a lot of people want to admit. I think Fernando is very coachable. And I think he's working on his swing. And based on what Buster Olney said and what we have seen analytically and what he's been working on, I'm not worried about Fernando coming back to swing form. I think eventually when he figures out what that home run path swing is, he's going to unlock what you would expect him to unlock. And I think it's hard for people to understand that right now because of what they have seen with their eyes. But I tell you what I saw with my eyes on Sunday, he just missed that ball on Sunday. He hit it 395 feet. He's not going to miss that much more. I think he's right on it, and I think it's going to be close to him going on a tear. But based on what Buster Olney said, Frank, I agree. And his little story he said about Fernando, I think it's only a matter of time, and I know people are tired of hearing that, but I think I'm not worried about Fernando, especially after hearing that story.
You'd be as tired of hearing it as you want. That's the deal. That's the way this is going to work. And Fernando, I've never once doubted his willingness to try to change this. I've never once doubted whether or not he was working hard in order to get over this hump. You could have some of the greatest skill in the world that's not going to keep you from going into a slump or having a bad time. You consistently are changing, you're consistently working to try to make yourself better. And in the process of focusing on going one or two steps forward, you break something and you fall one or two steps back. So then you have to go back to fixing the old thing while trying to work on the new thing. As far as Fernando Tatis as a teacher goes, I know because I'm personally this way, I can take the knowledge in. I can't physically replicate what I'm
You can't
told
apply
to do.
the coaching?
It's harder for me to apply it because of whatever disconnect between my body and brain. There are guys, maybe like Steven Souza Jr., that weren't able to apply their knowledge at the highest level or at the level of a Manny Machado or a Fernando Tatis Jr. And even possibly just coming at it from a different way of, hey, I didn't think of that before. Let me try doing this, and it works. So everyone can learn from everyone. Sometimes you can take the information in and just not be able to apply it yourself, but that doesn't mean the information is bad. There are so many different ways to teach someone. Anyone can be a coach if given the opportunity to.
I just look at it like the way he swung in 2025. I mean, he had 268 with a 446 slug and 814 OPS, way more walks than he has had in the past. I know he was batting leadoff for that. But he still put up really good numbers and is started turning into an overall hitter. And we've talked about this on this team multiple times. They don't have any power hitters. They have a bunch of pure hitters, right? They got the guys like Xander Bogaerts not a power hitter. That guy's a pure hitter. Manny Machado's not a power hitter. He's a pure hitter. Those guys hit the ball over the fence because they hit the ball well.
Mhm.
Fernando is in that category. I know he hit 42 home runs in 2021, whatever it may be, but I would never consider Fernando to be a power hitter. So if you think he's a power hitter and you're upset about this, then there's a big reason why you are upset about this. He has no home runs, and he's supposed to be a power hitter. He's not a power hitter. He's a pure hitter. I like his approaches at the plate a lot better. I think he's more patient now. He's not afraid to take a walk, and I think I think he's turning it around. I think he's going to turn it around very quickly, especially after what I saw Sunday. The American League is a joke. Why is it a joke? There's only 3 teams above 500. We break down why it is so bad when we come back. Also, need a contestant for the Midday Sports Standoff. We'll talk about that when we come back as well. The NFL offseason has entered the dangerous phase for contenders. Everybody looks good on paper right now, but if you look closer, there's cracks everywhere. Chiefs still don't fully trust their wide receivers. The Bills have offensive line concerns. The Bengals have almost no receiver depth behind Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Dolphins have major questions at safety. And the Browns, well, they still don't have a franchise quarterback. That's the biggest NFL story right now. Depth matters more than ever. And the teams still playing in January aren't just talented, they survive injuries. The Eagles, the Chiefs, the Ravens, the Bills, those teams can lose starters and keep winning. Meanwhile, a lot of NFL teams are basically saying our quarterback will figure it out. And maybe that works in September, but every postseason we learn the same lesson. The most complete roster usually wins the Super Bowl. The NFL offseason isn't just about who teams added. It's about what teams still haven't fixed their free agency and the draft. And that's where things get interesting right now across the league. A ton of playoff contenders still have major roster questions going into minicaps and training camp. And the biggest themes around the league right now are the AFC is loaded with contenders and still have offensive line concerns. Several Super Bowl hopefuls desperately need wide receiver depth. Veteran free agents like Joey Bosa, Hassan Reddick, Deebo Samuel, Stephon Diggs, and others are still floating out there waiting for the right fit. And teams are now entering the plug the last hole phase of the offseason. Here are some quick hitters around the league as we bring in Frank. There's a lot of teams that still need players that fit major holes. And these are a lot of teams that are trying to contend for a Super Bowl next year that have a lot of expectations, starting with the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, the Bills may have a Super Bowl roster except at left guard. That sounds small, but interior offensive line issues destroy playoff runs. Josh Allen can mask problems, but Buffalo still feels like they're one lineman short of being a genuine contender.
And that's big for them because they have been a team that has not been able to run the ball all that well aside from Josh Allen. Last year was a little bit better. The Bills have really just been Allen or bust for most of their offense. I mean, they didn't spend the money on the receivers. The receivers continue to be like middle tier wideouts. They don't have that go-to receiver. They brought in Stephon Diggs a couple of years ago, but he was already past being a number one, if you will. And then they went out and made the move with Chicago to bring in a receiver. Again, that's not a number one receiver. And on top of that, you need to be able to protect your best asset, which is Josh Allen. They can't do that with the offensive line that they have. They're going to have to improve that spot. And I think improve the receiver spot as well if the Bills are ever going to get to the Super Bowl. Miami, their safety room is a little shaky. They're relying on veterans and young players with very little proven production in a division with Josh Allen and Drake May. That's very dangerous. Drake May. Kansas City Chiefs still don't fully trust the receiver room. Outside of Rashee Rice, there are questions everywhere. Patrick Mahomes covered up a lot last year, but this offense hasn't looked dominant recently. And the Steelers, everyone assumes Aaron Rodgers is coming, but even if he does, what happens if one receiver gets hurt? Pittsburgh's depth at wide receiver is thin behind DK Metcalf and company. So for Miami, the secondary is not looking good. Kansas City needs a receiver. Pittsburgh needs receivers. There's a lot of teams out there in the AFC that need some extra production out of their skill players.
Yeah, we're going to stick with the AFC as well. Actually, going to stick in the AFC North. The Cincinnati Bengals are terrifying until one receiver goes down. Their depth behind Jamar Chase and T. Higgins is extremely questionable, and that's a risky setup for a team trying to survive in the AFC gauntlet. And again, the Cleveland Browns still do not have a franchise quarterback. That's the story. Shedeur Sanders, Dylan Gabriel, Deshaun Watson, none of those options inspire any sort of confidence. And Cleveland feels like a team that's once again waiting for next year's draft.
Let's talk about the NFC a little bit with the Dallas Cowboys. They have names at edge rusher, but not certainty. They have injuries, inconsistent production, and rookies that create a huge boomer bust situation for that defense, a defense that was not very good last year that obviously needs to improve. Eagles, who are the defending champs from a couple of years ago, safety is suddenly a concern. And that's how hard that's how hard it is to repeat in the NFL. Even elite rosters have cracks. Vikings, Justin Jefferson is elite. Jordan Addison is excellent. But after that, almost nothing proven at receiver depth. And that's why veteran receiver rumors keep circling Minnesota, on top of the fact that they have a quarterback battle between Kyler Murray and J.J. McCarthy. I mean, who's going to get these guys the ball at this particular time as well? And then you look at Seattle, their pass rush depth is very thin, and that matters because their entire defensive system depends on rotating edge rushers. They've already added Dante Fowler Jr., but they may not be done. The biggest takeaway of this entire segment about the NFL has become a depth league. Everybody talks quarterbacks, but injuries decide seasons now more than ever. And look at the teams that are alive almost every January. Philly, Kansas City, Baltimore, Buffalo. Those teams survive because their depth holds up when injuries hit in November and December. And a lot of teams right now look great on paper until you get past the starters. When you start looking at the depth chart, that's the biggest difference between teams that make it to January, Frank, and teams. On a Tuesday, leading up to Padres baseball at 4:40. Ecowater SoCal Padres pregame show at 3:40. Gwen and Chris will take over after us. We'll talk about how bad the American League has been in just a little bit. I can't believe that, like, just based on math, that they have that many teams below 500. Obviously, a lot of interleague games. The National League is 24 games up on the American League in wins in interleague play. Did you notice that?
I did not notice that.
Are you surprised by that?
Yes, I am, actually.
They're 24 games better than the American League in interleague play. Last year was the same thing in the American League at the end of the year. Ended up having a better win-loss record against the National League. So it could be early, too. But the American League, not that great. We're going to talk about that in a second. But do want to get to you phone calls. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Now, I heard that Tony was dealing with some hotel issues yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to hit 17, but it kept popping up 10. Or no, he tried to hit 10.
Oh, he's gone.
Wow, set it up for him, too.
Oh, no.
Tony was on the 10th floor. He kept hitting 10. It kept popping up 17. I thought Derek was playing a trick on him.
I swear to you, I did not do anything.
Frank dropped him.
No, I did not.
Frank dropped him.
I did not. I was ready to go. I had just put the pot up and on, ready for him to come on.
Today's number of the day, 17. Missed opportunity, man. Oh, well. Anyway, let's get to the American League.
I ruined the whole start to this segment.
I know. Come on.
Still call in for the midday sports standoff. Though.
Yes, we do need a contestant for a midday sports standoff. If you call in and take me down in sports trivia, you would be qualified for a chance to win our grand prize, $500 gift card to Westgate Las Vegas, the home of legendary Vegas fun. Now offering the breakaway from fees package, including a $75 daily dining credit, 2-day spa passes, daily cabaret tickets, complimentary valet parking, and $0 resort fees. Special rates starting at $89 a night. Book now at westgatelasvegas.com. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Okay. Back to the American League. The American League is so bad right now. So bad. They look the standings look broken, if you will. You got the New York Yankees at the top with the Tampa Bay Rays, of course. A lot of contestants here potentially. And the funny thing is, so Jeff Passan writes about this on ESPN.com, and somebody texted him about how the current American League standings, about being maybe at the end of the year, Yankees are going to go 94-68. Everybody in the American League is going to go 81-81. And then the Halos are going to go 68-94. It's a very exaggerated point, but the American League currently feels incredibly mediocre and tightly backed. Nearly every team feels flawed, inconsistent, and incomplete. Yankees look like the only true American League powerhouse. I think you can throw the Rays in there if you want. They currently sit with a massive plus 75 run differential. No other American League team remotely dominant like that. Every division leader is barely above 500. A's, this was yesterday, 20-18. Guardians, 21-19. In fact, I think they were almost 500 now. Teams with losing records are currently in playoff position, and that's what makes the standings so bizarre. They're crowded in the middle.
Guardians are a game over. A's are 2 games over.
Wow. 4 teams above 500 now?
Seattle is 2 under. The White Sox are 2 under. A lot of close, but there's only 4 that are genuinely over 500.
Close.
Exactly right.
Close.
So why is the American League like that? Well,
because it's the American League.
That's not the answer I was looking for. I was also teasing that for the next segment because we do have to get to the midday sports stand-up. The American League, no bueno at this point in time. So that's how it lays out. The Rays have the best record at 27-13. Yankees are 26-16. Guardians are 22-21. A's are 21-19. That means you have at least 2 teams in the American League that are in a playoff spot right now with a losing record. Why is it so bad? We'll tell you about it in the 1 o'clock hour. But first, let's get to today's midday sports standoff.
Welcome to Midday Sports Standoff on the Braden Surprenant Show.
I can't believe what I'm seeing right now.
The ultimate head-to-head battle where sports knowledge and quick thinking collide.
No, he's no good. Are you kidding me?
Contestants will go toe-to-toe with Braden in a sports trivia deal where every correct answer brings them closer to victory.
Down the sideline! Wow! Unbelievable!
But 3 strikes and it's game over.
This is not Detroit, man. This is the Super Bowl.
Can you outsmart Braden? The Midday Sports Standoff starts now.
All right, Frankie, we got playing today.
We have Eric in Chula Vista playing today. Eric, how you doing, bud?
Feeling good, guys. Yourselves?
Good. So much has been made this year about the implementation of the new ABS system. About a month and a half worth of data in, and the numbers are looking interesting. Who are currently the top 10 teams in Major League Baseball that have the best overall success rate with the ABS system? Eric, you have the first guess.
Wow, that's an interesting question. I'm going to say, you know what? We'll say the Padres. Why not try with the Padres?
Yeah, why not try with the Padres? They have a 58.4% success rate with the ABS system.
58.8%?
58.4.
What number are they at in the standings?
They're number 6.
They're number 6. I think earlier in the season, I don't know if they're still up there, but I remember Salvador Perez was kicking ass at this. So the Royals.
They've cooled off a little bit since then. They are number 9 on the list at 57.3%. Eric?
There was a game where the Reds had 9 overturned calls, so I'm going to try Cincinnati.
Number 7 at 58% on the nosy.
Who is that? Cincinnati?
Yes.
I felt like it seemed like the Tigers are doing a good job catching wise. Tigers. With their guesses.
Yeah, you have a good feeling on that. They are number 1. They have been the best with the ABS system this year. It's 60.8% success rate. Eric?
Let's try Try the Mariners. Big dumper.
Now, he's been taking a big dumper lately. Is what 0 for his last 34, I think. And no, he has not been good behind the plate either.
What have we said so far? Padres, Reds,
Tigers number 1,
Royals,
Reds Padres number 6, Reds 7, Royals 9.
I want to say they're just so bad though. But they've been like, I feel like they've been wearing us out in the challenges. What about the Rockies? No, they're probably not that great with the their offense. Their catchers are good though.
I can't give you that one, buddy. I'm sorry. That's a strike. Eric?
Let's try one of the Contreras brothers. Let's try Boston Red Sox.
Good guess, but no, Boston is not on this list. I believe they were just off of it, though.
The A's are good. Maybe they're good at challenging things.
The A's are just good enough at challenging things. They are number 10. They also are at 57.3%.
Damn it. Let's try the other one. Let's try the other brother. Let's try the Cubs.
They got to be up there.
The Cubs are number 5 on the list, 58.5% success rate. Guys are both tied at 3, 4 to go.
They don't have a Contreras brother in their team.
No, they not.
No,
anymore.
they don't. You're right.
He's on the Brewers.
They missing 2, 3, 4, and 8.
2, 3, 4, and 8. What about Texas?
Number 8 on the list at 57.8%. So 2, 3, and 4 are what we're looking for. Eric, you got 2 strikes on you.
We're literally just guessing random teams here.
Thank you for reminding me that Contreras brother wasn't on the Cubs. I'm going to say the Brewers.
He must not be good at overturning calls.
Yeah, fell into the trap, Eric. I'm sorry. I was just about to say before Eric kindly said that the rest of the teams are in the National League.
I mean, is it my turn?
Yeah. Well, it's over. Eric's got 3 strikes, so you can try to wipe.
How many
the
strikes
board
do
here.
I have?
You have 1.
Oh, really? What about the Dodgers?
Dodgers are number 2.
Of course. I mean,
At 59.7%.
They couldn't be bad at that. Just be bad at one thing. Okay, who else we got? How many more do we have?
2 left.
West and Central.
West and Central. Diamondbacks.
Number 4 at 58.8%.
Well, we've already guessed all the other teams in the West, so that was easy. Central. Okay. We've already said most of the Central, haven't we?
Mm-hmm. Team one of the Contreras brothers came from
Cardinals.
59%.
I almost guessed the
third
Cardinals
place.
earlier because I felt like they were kicking our ass on the ABS.
So this is an article actually published earlier this morning by ESPN. The overall best teams in baseball with the ABS system: the Detroit Tigers, LA Dodgers, St. Louis Cardinals, Arizona Diamondbacks, Chicago Cubs, Padres, Reds, Rangers, Royals, and the Los Oklahoma
Athletics. That's your top 10.
So that's combined when they're fielding and when they're hitting.
Yes.
Right.
That's
because
their
there's some teams
overall
like
success rate.
I remember I looked at that earlier this year because I was interested in that, and I remember the Royals being near the top. That was like 3 weeks in, but it was all because of Salvador Perez. Like nothing on their offense. Like defensively they were super high, but offensively they weren't. That's another interesting one.
Charles,
seeing like how they are at offense and how they are in defense.
Yeah, Charles, you might be looking at one of those. Charles was saying the Padres are at 61%. I believe that's their offensive ABS challenges.
What are the Padres at? I wonder.
Oh, let me go back to it.
Did they have the offense and defense on there?
Yes, they did.
If I had to guess, I would guess that the Padres defense is better than their offense on the ABS. But that's my guess.
I gotta get back to the article here.
I'm looking it up on Baseball Savant right now. Let's see what we got here. Offensively, the Padres are 4th to last. Oh, wait, hold on. I got to sort win percentage. Offensively, the Padres are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Padres are 7th on batter challenges, catcher challenges. They're at 64%, 11th.
On win percentage?
On catcher challenge success rate.
Oh. It says fielding, they're 63. Oh, because it's not catchers. It could have Walker Buehler threw off the stats. We'll explain later.
Hey, it's Ben and Wood. Sometimes sports is serious business, but a lot of the time it can get downright silly.
If you like a show that isn't afraid to make fun of sports stars or ourselves, join us weekdays from 6 to 10 a.m. on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
The 12 o'clock lunch hour is brought to you by the Craft Taco. Whether you're craving gourmet tacos for lunch or a craft beer for happy hour, the Craft Taco is the answer. Open in Sereno Valley and at the Natural History Museum in Balboa Park.
Relax and let Ralph's Delivery handle your grocery shopping this week. We start with only the freshest items, then review your list and carefully choose each one. Then we pack it all up and deliver it in as little as 30 minutes, so you can feel confident it's what you ordered. Fresh groceries your way with Ralph's Delivery and Pickup. And right now, you can save $20 on your first delivery or pickup order. Ralph's, fresh for everyone.
At Navy Federal Credit Union, May is our favorite because Military Appreciation Month is our time to celebrate those who go above and beyond. We know the military community protects our country at home and abroad, takes care of their families, and volunteers in their neighborhoods. That's why we've helped service members, veterans, and military family members for over 90 years. Learn more at NavyFederal.org/celebrate. And happy Military Appreciation Month. Navy Federal Credit Union. Our members are the mission. Navy Federal is insured by NCUA.
In 2026, Bay Alarms celebrates 80 years of security. With burglar and fire alarm systems, 24/7 in-house monitoring, and local service.
Final hour of the Braden Surprenant Show, live and local each every day from 10 to 2 on San Diego's number one sports station, 97.3 The Fan. All right. Do we have tickets to give away?
We does.
All right. We have a pair of tickets to give away for Padres and A's on May 23rd. Tickets at padres.com/tickets. We will have a trivia question for you going into the final break of the show. I have an idea for a trivia question, but I want to double check to make sure I can make it happen for this deal. So not going into this break, but going into the next break, for the final segment of the show, you have an opportunity to win tickets to Padres and A's. How about that?
Sounds good.
Sounds like a good time. All right. We didn't get to fully digest this American League situation on the last side of things. So, and you were busy with other things, but let's talk about the American League. Okay. We all know that they're bad right now. Okay. What Jeff Passan laid out in an article a couple of days ago about the American League. Now, only 3 teams are above 500. Is that correct?
Yeah. No.
4 now, because Cleveland won yesterday to go 22-21 in the season. The American League has become the land of average. Do you buy that? I mean, look at the
Technically,
records.
no, because they're all below average.
But they're like around average, okay?
Yeah, I would say so.
I buy that. It's interesting, and Jeff Passan lays it out about the shift that has happened in the American League since 2019. But according to projections, because these are all average, Angels, Tigers, Mariners, all around the average mark right now. According to projections, 10 of 15 American League teams are pacing towards 68 to 77 wins. Those are all what? That would be below 500, Trebek. Very few elite teams, very few terrible teams, just a giant pile of mediocrity. Even the American League worst Angels are only 3 games out of a playoff spot. That was at the time of a couple of days ago. It's now the American League worst Astros, by the way. What a fall from grace they are. The difference between parity and mediocrity, the article, according to the Jeff Passan article, raises a critical debate. Is the American League balanced because teams are good, or are they balanced because nobody's actually great? Which is a core identity crisis for this team or for this league. Not necessarily competitive excellence. It may simply be widespread inconsistency. I don't think the entire American League is collectively bad. I also don't think it's collectively good. I just think it's collectively mid. It's a very mid league over there in the American League. And they have shifted since 2019. Baseball's power structure has changed. And this is where Jeff Passan really dives into the weeds of the American League. Back in 2019, multiple American League teams won 100-plus games. Several lost 100-plus games. And the league had massive separation between contenders and bottom feeders. Now, everything has flattened dramatically. The statistical trend for the American League is crazy. Standard deviation in wins measures competitive separation. American League standard deviation history, 19 in 2019, 9.7 in 2025, and now down to 8.8 in 2026. The league is becoming more compressed every year. The current projection would make 2026 one of the flattest competitive landscapes of the modern era. He goes on to talk about whether or not the National League is just better. We'll get to that in a second, but I think, does this make it better to watch or worse to watch if you're a sports fan, a baseball fan, with these teams being evenly matched, even though the records are not good? Are you now more or less inclined to watch? I mean, less. I don't think do we think the Tigers are bad? You think the Tigers are bad?
No, they're hurt.
They're beat up. How about the Mariners? Think the Mariners are bad?
No.
Slow and consistent to start the year.
Mm-hmm.
You think the Rangers are bad?
I wouldn't call them great.
Yeah, but they're not bad.
No, they're not offensive.
I think there's only 3 teams in the American League you can point at, they're bad. The Angels, the Astros, and the Red Sox. I think that's it. Maybe the Twins are lurking in that area. White Sox are 2 games under 500. I mean, they can't be that bad. They took 2 out of 3 from the Padres here. They're a lot better than they've been in the past. We know the Tigers aren't bad. Royals have a lot of young talent. I think they're off to just kind of a slow start. Blue Jays were in the World Series last year. Baltimore has young talent too. Maybe they are bad. I just don't think they're that bad. The record makes it look like they're a lot worse than they actually are. And I know you are what your record is, but I think the parity leads to pretty decent baseball. It just looks awful because of the fact that everybody's got a losing record. In comparison to the National League Central, where I don't necessarily think the Pirates are that great or the Reds, but they have winning records.
Everyone's within
a couple games,
3 or 4 games of being 500, except, as you mentioned, the Red Sox, the Angels, and the Astros, who are just god-awful. If it's mid, then fine. You would have a better chance of getting me to watch a Royals-Tigers game than an Angels-Astros game right now. Because while the Astros may have some big names, and of course the Angels still have Mike Trout and Jose Soriano's been good, the teams are pitiful, which is going to lead to horrific baseball to watch. At least Detroit, Kansas City gives me something that's remotely competitive that I would be able to stomach as a fan. If everyone is 10 games under 500, that's not parity. That's you're just bad. And you have a lot of bad teams. But with everyone being within touching distance of 500, I'm not overly concerned about that.
You have 16 teams right now in all of Major League Baseball. They're within 4 games of each other, starting with the Pirates at 22-19, who are 6 games out of the best record in baseball, to the Minnesota Twins at 18-23. That's a lot of teams hovering around 500, which means it's going to move up and down. And the thing that makes it interesting, though, is, and here's what makes it the most interesting for the American League and really Major League Baseball as a whole, is the chaos with all of these teams around 500. It creates more drama. It creates playoff races. It creates hope, but it also creates uncertainty about roster direction. You're going to have a lot of teams in the middle there make interesting decisions on if they're going for it or not based on where they're at in the standings. I mean, if you look at that group, let's just go off of the, because the Pirates are a game and a half behind the Cardinals in that group. So if you go Pirates on the overall standings, the Twins, which are all separated by 4 games, that'd be the Pirates, Reds, A's, Guardians, Diamondbacks, Mariners, White Sox, Marlins, Nationals, Phillies, Rangers, Royals, Tigers, Orioles, Blue Jays, Twins. All 16 of those teams are within 4 games of each other, from the top to the bottom. Below the Twins, these teams I think are cooked, and I think they're bad. Tell me if you disagree.
Mm-hmm.
Red Sox,
roasted.
Giants,
roasted.
Rockies,
roasted.
Angels,
roasted.
Astros,
roasted.
Do I need to say the last one?
Cremated.
The Mets. And then there's the Mets in dead last in the entire league. I don't think any of those teams really have a chance at this point.
No.
If you had to pick one, who would it be? The Giants? Maybe they'll come out of it. We just did a whole thing on the Giants at 11 o'clock. They're terrible.
They have the star power to do it that none of the other teams have. The Astros have the names, but they're older. If anything, I would say either San Francisco or Houston, one of the two. I think Houston might be a little bit worse off.
Those are all the teams that would be get relegated to AAA. Those 6 teams. Then you have your middle chunk, like I mentioned, and then here's the teams that are above the Pirates. Cardinals, Brewers, Dodgers, Padres, Yankees, Cubs, Rays, Braves. Those are all teams you would think would be in the playoffs anyway. I think the Cardinals might come back down to earth, but weren't most of those teams expected to make the playoffs? With the exception of the Cardinals and the Rays? For the most part?
I believe the Rays this year. Like I said earlier, when the few rare occasions where the Rays have a good competitive team, they usually stick with where they are. If they're bad, they are
bad. But when they do have a fight at the top of the division, they usually stick around. So I'm gonna believe the Rays on this one this year.
I know, but going into the season where they picked to make the playoffs out of any national outlets,
no, I would not.
I don't think anybody picked them to. I didn't think anybody picked them to not come in last, and that was just because the Blue Jays were coming off a World Series. The Yankees always get hyped, but they have a lot of talent. The Orioles were young. It's like, oh, it's a fluke year. And how bad are the Orioles right now?
They're not.
They keep losing.
They're 4 games under 500. They're with every other team. They'd be sitting in 4th place right now in the Central.
Everybody be sitting in higher place in the Central.
That's another thing too. Like I was literally thinking that. I'm like, yeah, Baltimore 9 games out of first place. That looks bad. But then when you look at their record against everyone else, especially against teams that are like 2nd and 3rd in every other division, they're right there.
19 and 23. Well, they're a game out of the wild card. That's the other thing too. If you just go look at the American League and you look at the wild card race,
yeah, they're right in the mix still.
The Astros are 4 games out of a wild card spot behind the White Sox. It's all part of that grouping.
Yeah.
But I will say this, like the Orioles, like for the last couple of years, they were supposed to be the young team, the best farm system was going to take over. And last year was disappointing. And they've had multiple disappointing years. They never really addressed the problems that they have had. But to go back to this conversation about the American League, the parity and the chaos. I mean, I think a lot of teams don't know who they are yet when it comes to the deadline. Like teams across the American League currently feel impossible to define. Like, are the Rays dangerous or are they overrated? I think they are dangerous. Are the Guardians contenders or placeholders? We talked about that in our contenders versus pretenders. I think they're a placeholder right now until the Tigers get healthy. Are the Blue Jays underachieving? Yes, I would say so. Are the Mariners real? Real in a sense of, is this the real Mariners team at 2022? Or are they better than this? I mean, the Mariners they're 2 games under 500. They got a wild card spot.
Their biggest thing right now for the Mariners, which is making them look worse, and we mentioned it in the in our break segment yesterday, that they're down on power. Cal Raleigh, as he said, 0 for his last 34. He has looked awful this year. Is nowhere close to what he was last year. That, and you also had to find a way to replace 50 some odd home runs from Eugenio Suarez last year that they didn't do. So they're trying to figure out how to win games without just power suffocating people.
The standings are definitely off in terms of like, they're not going to stick like this. I think eventually things are going to turn around. I mean, it's going to be interesting though to see because everyone believes they have a chance. Right now, 13 of 15 American League teams have at least a 14% chance of making the playoffs. Can you believe that? National League's a little bit different with the teams at the bottom. 11 teams have a better than 20% chance of making the playoffs. Very few fan bases will wave the white flag early this year, which means they'll be in it longer. Trade deadline dynamics then become fascinating because nearly every team may convince itself it's one move away. The deadline could become absolute chaos if the standings remain compressed. Buyers and sellers may barely exist. Teams sitting 2 games under 500 or 4 games back may still go for it aggressively.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen the Padres do that previous years.
Yeah, we saw a lot of teams doing that last year as well. Teams that were on the fringe that were like a game or 2 under 500, some cases even 3, right up until the bitter end were debating whether or not they were going to be buyers or sellers.
Which I also think leads to, this is a great time to be a seller because you're going to have some massive bids for the teams that decide to sell.
Yep.
It ain't going to be a lot because there might not be a lot. There are not going to be a lot of them in the American League as much as they're all not playing very well and their record's not very good. They're all still in contention come July. There might be a lot of teams that just decide we're not going to sell. Maybe we'll add a piece here. It'll be enough to get over the top because we're right there in the thick of this thing. I mean, at the end of the day, you're trying to win. You're trying to win. Any chance you have to win, I think you have to take advantage of the opportunity instead of playing the punt card. I think you have to try to take that chance. The National League, is it that much better than the American League? I mean, the Dodgers are like the major narrative emerging. Of course, the National League may have surpassed the American League in overall quality. Dodgers coming into the season, having the highest payroll, being one of those teams. But The National League owns a 23-game advantage in interleague play going into this week.
The National League, looking at it, you have the Phillies and the Braves and Mets, who are just two opposite ends of the spectrum. The NL East could pretty much be the AL Central at this point because they're all 3 games under 500. The NL Central is the flip reverse of the AL Central, where everyone is 2 or 3 games above instead of 2 or 3 games under. And then there's the West, who you've got 2 up at the top, 2 down at the bottom on the opposite end of the spectrum.
1 in the middle.
And then the 1 in the middle sitting at right at 500. So, I mean, I think part of it is still the early season craziness. But there are clearly teams on opposite ends of the spectrum that you can see. You can see clearly who some of the good teams are. You can see clearly who some of the bad teams are. And it's a lot of those tweeners right now that you thought, maybe they do have a chance, maybe they don't have a chance, that are sorting themselves out right now.
You look at, just go back to the National League, and this is what Jeff Passan laid out about why you should be skeptical of the whole narrative. By the way, at the quarter poll, I mean, it's still early, but this is why you should be a little bit cautious about pushing back, pushing hard that the National League is just so much better than the American League. Uneven schedules, home road imbalances, small sample sizes, and early season variance. Last year, by the way, National League also started strong in interleague play, jumped out to a great start, and the American League ultimately finished with a better record overall than the National League. The NL dominance conversation may be a little premature at this point in time, but the American League has just I thought by now a lot of these teams would start coming back up to earth, if you will, as they're have been near the bottom. But I mean, so many of these teams are just struggling in the American League. I think a lot of it has to do with the schedule. But if you look at teams that have a plus run differential in the American League, that's also not good. It's the Rays and the Yankees.
Yeah.
And then it's
everyone else.
Guardians have a +1 in the run differential. Tigers are +4. Mariners +4. Everybody else is a negative run differential. Shoot, Baltimore is -40. That's the worst in the league. They're in 3rd place in their division. Everything you need to know about what the American League is doing right now. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about what happened over the weekend with San Diego FC. Aztecs football finished up their spring. Plus, later on, we have a preview of Padres and Brewers. And going into the next break, I'll give you a trivia question where the winner will win tickets to Padres and A's next week. Talk more about that later on as we continue on the Braden Surprenant Show. San Diego Sports Station 97 through the Fan. The MLB season right now is completely split in 2 directions. On one side, you've got the Chicago Cubs on a historic heater, multiple double-digit win streaks already this season, and now they're sitting at number 1 in baseball. Right behind them are the Milwaukee Brewers, the Los Angeles Dodgers, the New York Yankees, still the heavyweights, still dangerous, and still loaded. But here's where it gets weird. The American League has only a few winning teams overall. In fact, they got 3. And yet it still dominates the top of the power rankings. So even though teams are struggling, they're still being viewed as contenders. Meanwhile, surprise team like the Cardinals, Royals, and Pirates are hanging around, and established teams like the Mets, Astros, and Mariners are all under pressure early. So are we watching true parity in baseball, or just early season chaos before the real separation begins? American League is struggling, but the top is still loaded. There's a strange split happening in baseball right now as the American League has just 3 teams with winning records. And yet when you look at the power rankings from ESPN.com and MLB.com and all the power ranking aficionados out there, the American League still makes up nearly half of the top 16 teams. So what does this mean? League feels uneven, but the top end talent is absolutely real in the American League, even though they only have 3 teams with a winning record.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, we went through them, didn't we? On the show, I believe it's just the Yankees, Rays, and the A's,
and the Athletics
are the only 3, at least as of this recording.
And
on
then
Monday,
the Guardians
the
are 500, if you want to, but they're not. It's not a winning record. It's not a winning team.
It is not. So they you could definitely tell the Yankees obviously are very, very real. The A's can't really say for sure just yet. They've been down in the dumps for so many years. Same thing with the Rays, but when they have a team like this, when they have a good record like this, they usually stick around, and they have a lot of very, very good young players on that team. So those three teams, at least two of the three are very, very for real, I think.
New number one in these metrics, the Chicago Cubs. They've been on fire. We just saw them not too long ago here at Petco Park. They are the hottest team in baseball right now. And it's not just a hot streak, it's a historic one. Multiple 10-plus game winning streaks already this season. First team to do that since the 1955 Dodgers, and they're dominating at Wrigley Field. This feels like a team that's not just winning games, but it building its identity. And if the pitching holds, they're a legitimate World Series threat. But that's the big problem with the Cubs. I mean, they've had significant pitching injuries already this season, yet they've already racked up multiple 10-plus game winning streaks and have been almost unbeatable at Wrigley Field this year. I think eventually they're going to come back down to earth if pitching winning championships continues to be the phrase of baseball.
And this is another team that we talked about at the beginning of the season, it being off to just a god-awful start. They were in last place after the first 2 weeks of the season, and now they're up here doing what they're doing. You just had Boyd go down with a torn meniscus while sitting on the ground. Cade Horton's also out. They have a couple of other pitching injuries. I think Shota Imanaga might be the only healthy one in that starting rotation, when we're hearing rumblings already that they're looking to teams like the Mets inquiring about Freddie Peralta. So they're already out there looking for pitching help, and it's not even the middle of May yet.
I can't believe the Braves come in at number 2, just short of number 1. Nothing about them looks weak. I mean, they've been the standard so far this season. They just took 2 out of 3 from LA and really bludgeoned them over the weekend. Massive NL East lead. They lead the division by 8.5 games. They have stability across the lineup and the rotation. Still one of the most complete teams in baseball. And even when they're not number 1, they still feel like the safest bet in the National League right now.
They're also missing a lot of guys. Spencer Strider's starting to look like he's coming back to normal. Spencer Schwellenbach is on the IL right now. And I think part of the reason why Atlanta dropped to number 2 is because of how weak the National League East is. The Cubs are the first place team in the best division in baseball. And as you mentioned, the 2 10-plus game winning streaks. The Braves are good. Not going to take that away from them at all. But they're 8.5 games ahead in one of the worst divisions in baseball. I think that's why power rankings wise give the edge to the Cubs a little bit.
New contenders starting to emerge everywhere. I mean, obviously, the Dodgers are still elite, even with injuries. The Yankees are powered by breakout bats like Ben Rice to start the season. Tampa Bay quietly dominating the American League. In fact, they're in first place in the American League East. They're one of the 3 teams in the American League that have a winning record. And Milwaukee surviving chaos in the rotation, and that's the team that the Padres will play this week, another team that's going to be battling for a spot. There are some surprise stories as well. St. Louis continuing to outperform expectations with a young core. Pirates still playing above 500 despite last place standing. Kansas City climbing thanks to Bobby Witt Jr. And the Oakland A's are staying. Padres baseball coming up at 4:40. We have a lineup yet?
I don't know. I haven't checked. I'm not used to them playing this early.
Not my week to watch them. Actually, it is.
I didn't say that. No, we do not have a lineup.
No lineup yet. The Brewers have a lineup yet?
No.
What are we doing?
Negativo on the lineups.
There's only 3 Brewers that have ever faced Bregman Rodriguez. Ortiz, Churio, Yelich. Yelich is not even playing today. It's on the IL. All right. 124 on a Tuesday. Leading you into Padres baseball, 440. As the Padres take on the Brewers, it will be Bregman Rodriguez starting things off for the Padres today. He'll be going against Brandon Sprout, who is 0-2 with a 5.87 ERA. 30 strikeouts this year for Sprout on the season. EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show with Sam Levitt at 3:40. Gwen and Chris will take over after us at 2 o'clock, leading you into the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show with Sam Levitt. Before we get to that, kind of a little bit of a break off from baseball. Talk about some of the local teams here in town in the sports world. Aztecs had their spring game a couple of weeks ago. They got a lot of criticism last year for replacing the traditional spring game with non-football activities. What's your thoughts on that? I think you got to play a spring game.
I've never been like a big football guy, so I wouldn't really have a.
Would you rather, as a
opinion on
football fan, watch them play a football game or watch them play dodgeball and relay races?
I mean, I'd rather watch them play football, but if it's against themselves, they're not going to be trying all that hard now.
Well, they are because they're trying to win spots and stuff like that. I mean, they're going to. It's just I would rather watch them scrimmage in a practice than watch them play dodgeball or something else.
You know what I would rather do in the month of May? I would rather watch the NHL playoffs. I would rather watch baseball. I would rather watch racing.
It's for like the diehard college football fans. I mean, I like college football, not enough to watch the TCU spring game.
Okay, again.
I'm just saying, I'd rather watch them play a game, though. If I had to pick, I feel like that's more productive than playing dodgeball.
Yeah, I would say a game would probably be better.
NCAA eliminated the transfer window, so it made it a little bit easier. I mean, a lot of these schools didn't do that because they didn't want to have guys not play as much and then leave in the portal. This is what happened in that game. Saunders, redshirt freshman, Kentucky transfer. He had a 31-yard touchdown to freshman wideout Derek Stevenson. He was 12 for 19, 144 touchdown and a pick. Most productive passing day overall. Jaden Denegal comes back for another year. He's the senior starter from last year, 10 for 17, 92 yards. He had a 40-yard completion to Deshaun Davis, who's also a freshman. Showed some mobility and red zone drive potential. Stopped at the 1-yard line. Braden Trudeau is a redshirt freshman. He was 3 for 3 with 23 yards. I mean, it's quarterback play. Doesn't really matter.
Cool.
Yeah. Skill position highlights. True freshman Carson Deal at La Jolla High School had a game-high 44 receiving yards, impressive 40-yard catch. That's a big problem for the Aztecs. They need more receivers. Hopefully some of these freshmen they brought in are going to do a lot better. Javion Kinnard led with 8 carries on the running back side of things at 29 yards. Christian Washington and Lucky Sutton, efficient but limited. Sutton was protected. He had a red jersey, quick whistles, kind of keep him healthy for the fall. Defensive side of things, senior edge rusher Brady Nassar intercepted Saunders off a tip. 3 transfer defensive linemen recorded sacks for the Aztecs. Defense was described as playing with really bad intent, aggressive and physical. Good to hear. They did get an injury in Dalshon Staley earlier during the spring. He has a torn ACL. He's out for the year. He was the only DB returning from a year ago. They have some battles in the kicking situation with special teams. Long snapper has a little bit of a crisis, that position. Their starter, Luke Williams, also tore his ACL. He's out for the year. They only have 1 healthy snapper right now, so we'll see if they try to add a long snapper before the end of the offseason. Overall, I mean, it's like there's not so much you can get out of a spring game. All you need to know is you got a quarterback battle, the defense is flying to the football, and they got young receivers that need to step up if they want to be good. And by the way, in a new year, this is Pac-12 football now that the Aztecs are a part of. Based on last year, going into this year for Aztecs football, I don't want to spend too much time on this. They need better receiving. They need better weapons on offense, and they need to be able to hang on to the football and not turn it over as much. I thought the defense played well last year. This is the 3rd year now of Sean Lewis. He's got to be able to improve just a little bit more, and they can't fall apart at the end of the season like they did last year. I'm curious to see how they play in this Pac-12. It'd be nice to be in the first Pac-12 championship game. I think it's wide open too. So hopefully the Aztecs have a good year. That was your spring update. Let's talk about soccer over the weekend, Frank.
Yeah, so San Diego FC did the thing again. They got out to a lead.
Let me guess, they started off really well, and then they didn't finish?
Yeah, that.
They've been doing that a lot.
Yeah, they done did that thing again. Got a goal from Marcus Ingvartsen immediately. 18th minute of the match, held on to it for a vast majority of the second half, and then just lost it at the end of the game. They had a chance in extra time that didn't go their way. Ingvartsen sent it over the bar, but as I said in the break video that you'll see most likely tomorrow,
this loss or this draw would have been just another game had this come right after the hot start in the CONCACAF Champions Cup and the hot start to league play. But because it comes in the midst of this winless streak, it looks so much worse than what it actually is.
Yeah, I think they're starting to stabilize a little bit compared to where they were at a few weeks ago. They didn't have a red card. That's nice. That's kind of a positive.
I think they've gotten over that.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good start. But they've now earned points in back-to-back MLS matches. Possession is improving, which is good. The attack looks organized again. They're competing against quality teams on the road, but the results still aren't turning into wins. And at some point, San Diego has to stop saying almost, because the league punishes teams that don't finish games or finish chances, and San Diego was unable to do that again. I mean, the encouraging part, this no longer feels like a team collapsing. It feels more like a team trying to climb back out of the mess that they were in, which is different. And the confidence looks better, and the movement is better. And Invarksen is playing with some of the best soccer he has had in his San Diego career right now. But until they actually win a match, Frank, I say the pressure stays on with this team. They got to start winning some of these games. I mean, and here's the deal. If they want to turn this thing around, they better start doing it quickly. They're going to start running out of summer, even though it's May. They have some time, but that slowly starts to dissipate as the season goes on. You can't have this stretch continue of however many games it's been in a row without a win.
No, and they're playing Austin FC, a team that they handled pretty well last year, this weekend at Snapdragon. So they've got a friendly kind of team coming in for them that they're really going to need to win, because the home fans are starting to become a little bit restless, saying continuously bringing up Chucky Lozano as if he's going to change anything that's happening. They are getting restless, and unfortunately, with the Padres being in first place, this is going to be something that they're going to have to contend with for this year and next year before they switch to the winter schedule. They're in danger now of becoming irrelevant because the Padres are doing so good. You gave them a little bit of leeway because of how good their start was to the season. And then it was the disbelief of how is this team this bad? And you're watching to see how long it takes them to climb out of it. And now, because it's been as prolonged as it is, they're starting to fall out of relevancy, especially with the Padres being in first place.
No, I mean, it was going to be tough for them to compete with the Padres anyway.
For sure.
But we haven't talked too much about it. We haven't had a lot of people ask us about it. I mean, they just started to just play poorly.
If they had this season last year,
it would have been tough.
They'd have no shot.
It would have been tough to try to establish yourself in San Diego. I mean, it still is. I think you get like a couple of years. I mean, if they continue on this stretch and then have a bad year next year, I mean, they might just disappear for a lot of people in this town. But they got to start finishing some games. We have a lineup. When we come back, we will get to that lineup. We will get you a preview of Padres and Brewers. But we have tickets to give away for May 23rd as the Padres host the Athletics. You can get your tickets at padres.com/tickets. If you're the first one to call in, 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. First one to call in and to answer this trivia question. Before they got to Sacramento, where are the three other cities that the Athletics have called home? First one to call in and answer those three cities correctly will win a pair of tickets to Padres and A's on May 23rd. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Three cities that the A's called home before Sacramento. Call in, give us those three answers. You will win tickets to Padres and A's. We'll announce the winner when we come back. We will also get you a preview of Padres and Brewers and get you today's lineup that just came out a couple of minutes ago on the Braden Surprenant Show, San Diego Summer Sports Station 97 through the Fan. The San Diego Toreros are stuck in a pattern right now. Competitive starts, but inconsistent finishes. Against UC Irvine, they jumped out to a 4-0 lead early behind strong hitting and another huge on-base performance from C.J. Moran. For a moment, it looked like control, but then everything flipped. UC Irvine stormed back with a key 3-run homer, and San Diego was held to just one hit the rest of the way in a 9-4 loss, and that's been the theme all season. This is a team with real talent. Andrew Ghana, C.J. Moran, Phoenix Brant, they're producing, but the consistency over 9 innings just isn't there yet. They can compete in stretches. They just haven't learned how to finish. And as the season winds down, that's the difference between a promising team and a complete one, and a team that should be making the West Coast Conference Tournament and a team that will probably not make the West Coast Conference Tournament. This week for the Toreros, the storyline across multiple programs has been consistent, early momentum, competitive stretches, but difficulty finishing games when it matters most. Sounds a lot like San Diego FC right now, Frank.
Yeah, it does. From baseball's blown early lead against UC Irvine to softball's emotional senior send-off to men's tennis closing out a historic postseason run, San Diego Athletics is showing both growth and growing pains at the same time. And we'll start, of course, with baseball as the Toreros wrapped up their final midweek game of the season, falling 9-4 to UC Irvine at Fowler Park.
Yeah, San Diego jumped out to a 4-0 lead after 2 innings. They were fueled by early offense and another strong on-base performance from C.J. Moran, who continues to reach base at an elite rate. Gage Mestis and the top of the lineup helped build the early cushion, and USD looked in control early. But after that second inning, everything changed. San Diego managed just 1 hit and 2 walks the rest of the way as UC Irvine steadily chipped away before a decisive 3-run home run flipped the game in the 6th. And that has become a recurring theme. Strong starts, but inconsistent finishes, which leads to the bigger picture, a tough season for the pitching staff.
Yeah, on the mound, San Diego used a season-high 11 pitchers trying to navigate the late-game collapse. Some arms did deliver, including Kyle Bade, Adrian
Body.
Aiden.
Okay. You got 2 of the rough names, Kyle Body and Aidon Gonzalez.
And a strong finish from Reese Bueno in the 9th inning. Offensively, there's clear production. Andrew Ghana continues to hit at an elite conference level. Moran remains one of the most consistent on-base players in the West Coast Conference. Phoenix Brant and Gage Mestis have also delivered in key stretches, but baseball is about sustaining execution across all 9 innings, and that right now is the Torero's biggest problem.
An emotional senior day for the softball team. San Diego Torero softball closed its season with an emotional and dominant senior day performance. A 3-0 shutout win highlighted a day where Kelsey Tadlock delivered a standout pitching performance, and Charlie Johnson closed the game to secure a combined shutout. It wasn't just a win. It was a program moment. Coaches and players reflected on the senior class's impact and the foundation they helped build for the future of the program. As for tennis, San Diego Torero's men's tennis team saw its historic postseason run end in the NCAA Sweet 16, falling at number 1 Texas 4-1. But the result doesn't define the season. USD finished 22-6, winning its 5th straight West Coast Conference regular season title and 3rd straight conference tournament championship. They got to host back-to-back years in the NCAA tournament for the first and second rounds. Oliver Tarvit picked up a statement win over a top-ranked opponent, and his final season, along with teammates Klassen and Niedner, cements one of the strongest eras in program history. Final takeaway for USD Athletics this week. Across baseball, softball, and tennis, the team was the same. Teams are competitive over there in Linda Vista. They have the talent. They win in moments, but the next step is consistency and closing, and that will define the next chapter for Torero Athletics as they move on to the fall season of 20. Coming up on Wednesday. 140 on a Tuesday. We're 2 hours away from the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show. Cut up at 3:40, which means we're 3 hours away from Padres and Brewers coming up at 4:40 p.m. Pacific time. Bragley Rodriguez will pitch to start the game today for your San Diego Padres. They'll be going against Brandon Sprout of the Milwaukee Brewers. Sprout. Sprout's 0-2 with a 5.87 ERA. Bragley 0-2 with a 1.83 ERA. You only see probably one inning of Bragley because Matt Waldron was expected to start the day. Sounds like he will be the bulk guy, if you will, followed by Bragley being the opener for the Padres. Worked so well the first time, might as well do it again. Padres got a lineup out. Where's our little sounder that we stole from Gwen and Chris on our gimmick steal? Oh, no. There it is. You have a lineup. I like stealing that bit. You know, that should be a universal bit for everybody on the shows. I don't know how many times Ben and Woods will be able to use it, but it's fun to do. Leading off playing center field, Jackson Merrill batting second, playing second base. Oh, man, people are going to lose their minds tomorrow, aren't they? Fernando's playing second base again.
I mean, after the error on Friday, can we really stop with the Fernando in right field experiment? Guy's an infielder. Let's be real here.
You wanted to tell that joke again, didn't you? How many games has he played at second base? Is this his 9th start at second base now? 10th, maybe? Check the game logs. It's so funny. Was that Friday's show that we had to hear everybody be like, "I'm done with the Fernando at second experiment. It just makes the outfield terrible." That was so gold.
Yeah.
That was such gold. That was amazing. I love that. And then he has to play in the outfield. Somebody immediately on social media on there was like, Nick Castellanos would have fielded that ball. Classic. This will be Fernando's 10th game starting at second base. Do you want to know his splits at second and in right field?
Go for it.
It's getting even worse now.
Uh-oh.
When he plays second base this year, he's had 34 plate appearances. He's hitting .433 with a 1033 OPS.
Confirmed infielder.
At second base. Right field, he's hitting .193 with a 503 OPS. I'm just saying.
You know, that's when you give the whole Tony Kornheiser, I'm not saying, I'm just saying.
I'm not saying, I'm just saying is right when it comes to Fernando. Playing the infield, his career numbers. I mean, every which way you look at it, he has hit statistically better in the infield than he has had in the outfield. I'm just saying. Maybe you should just be there. Who knows? He bats second today. Manny Machado bats third, plays third. Miguel Andujar in the cleanup spot is the DH. Xander Bogaerts bats fifth. He plays shortstop. Batting sixth at first base is Gavin Sheets. Nick Castellanos bats seventh. He plays right field. Ramon Laureano batting eighth, plays left. Freddie Fermin is the catcher. He bats ninth. Starting lineup today. Laureano's extra low in the lineup today. A little surprised by that, but at the same time, Laureano's done well hitting down lower in the lineup.
Yeah, that's what I said. I'm like, they put him right down at the bottom. Like, you know, he was hitting better at 5, 6, 7, but to put him at 8 feels a little rough.
What a length of a lineup. I don't mind it. It's good. We got to get the top of the order going anyway. Do we dare dive into the numbers for the leadoff guy this season for the Padres again?
Dare.
Oh, man. It never gets any better.
Got a walk on Sunday.
That's true. They get a walk on Sunday.
Walk on Sunday. You had the leadoff hitter on Sunday.
You got to walk before you can crawl. Reverse that. Okay, here's the batting splits for the San Diego Padres with the leadoff man. Before we talk about the Brewers a little bit. Because the leadoff hitter, the leading off thing has been a massive problem for this team. We're now a quarter into the season. Quarter pole, everybody likes to say. First bat of the game through 40 games, Frank. You ready for this?
Go for it.
Guess how many hits they have?
3.
Nope, still 2. Was that a legit guess you had?
Yes.
Oh, my God. And we've studied it, too, forever.
I thought they'd gotten one more.
No, they didn't get one. They got the walk.
It's happened now twice. I've tried to give the Padres the benefit of the doubt, and I've gotten
You got to
burned
stop doing that.
both times.
You got to stop doing that. Yeah, they have 2 hits. Jackson Merrill at least has worked 2 walks in his 7 games as leading off. Yeah, Frankie One-Off. That needs to be your new nickname. Frankie Left Turns and Frankie One-Off. It's amazing. Padres, it'd be great if they got the leadoff hit today. Leading off an inning, numbers are not much better. Team's still hitting 196 when leading off an inning. In terms of Jackson Merrill, who's now seen 42 plate appearances, he hit 257 with an 867 OPS. His number's still pretty decent in a leading off role, if you will. He still has the best numbers. The only one better than him was Sheets for a while. Sheets is now plummeted on that list, by the way, Frank. Leading off an inning, he's now hitting 241. So it is safe to say now that on this team, out of players that have led off innings, Jackson Merrill has done it the best than anybody on this team. He has the highest average and the highest OPS. There's nobody that has higher average than him, and nobody with a higher OPS who has at least 20 ABs doing it. 20 plate appearances, if you will. He also leads the team in leadoff walks. Doesn't have too many strikeouts. I like Merrill batting leadoff. Continue it. Sounds good. Milwaukee Brewers. This team's pretty good, Frank. The Brew Crew. We talked about it with our guest today in the noon hour, and Jeff Levering, Milwaukee Brewers broadcaster. But when you look at this Brewers team, Padres enter Milwaukee at 24-16, tied for first in the National League West. Brewers are 22-16 and chasing the Cubs in the National League Central. Padres are actually not tied for the NL West anymore. Dodgers lost yesterday. Hate to see it. Records.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Oh, no. Oh, no. Padres have a half game lead in first place. Whatever will we do? Padres +3 of the run differential. Brewers +54. Giant red flag hanging over San Diego right now is the run differential. Because they're winning a lot more games, but they're not passing the Ben Higgins run differential test. Not passing that. Brewers are +54 in the run differential. Statistically, Milwaukee looks a lot like a far more dominant, balanced baseball team, despite only having 2 fewer wins in the Pods. But this series can expose who the Padres really are. They have spent weeks surviving 1-run games, comeback wins, elite bullpen work, situational baseball. The Brewers profile more like a sustainable contender. Top 10 rotation ERA, top 10 bullpen ERA, strong run differential, consistent run prevention. I mean, this looks like a team that's holding it together in the Padres against a real contender team in the Brewers. It's going to be a tough test this week for 3. So I keep saying, you go 3-3 this week on the road, you'll take that. That's a win, I think, for the Padres.
And Go Aztecs pointing it out. He is right. Christian Yelich was activated.
Nice. Then you get to deal with Christian Yelich now too,
which I think is why Milwaukee's taken a while to put their lineup out. I haven't seen an official roster move from them.
Correct. Padres have a brutal 569 team OPS over the last 7 games. Did you hear that?
Oh no, they have. Tyler Black, DH Tyler Black has been optioned down, so they have made the roster move.
569 team OPS over the last 7 games for the Padres. Only 4 hitters have produced consistently. Castellanos, it hasn't just been recently. Xander Bogaerts, Jackson Merrill, and recently Castellanos in his last handful of games. Ty France has been solid throughout the year. Meanwhile, Machado has a 248 OPS over the last week. Fernando's got a 450 OPS over the last 7 games. The lineup is lacking power and a fear factor right now.
Not good, Bob.
No, not great, Bob. The Brewers also might be better than people realize. I mean, they look like a very Brewers team, as dumb as that sounds. Brewers aren't an offensive juggernaut. They're only 23rd in OPS, yet they continue to win because they pitch, they defend, they run the bases, they create pressure. And as Jeff Levering said about this Brewers team, They play some old school college baseball. They're stealing bases. They're dropping down bunts. I mean, they're creating runs and they're creating pressure. Bryce Harang has become a major catalyst to this. 917 OPS in May. Very much clutch hitting. Walk-off home run Sunday. Jackson Chourio heating up immediately after returning from injury. 364 average over his last 5 games. And Milwaukee's run differential screams that they're going to be around for a long time. Plus 54 run in the run differential compared to San Diego's plus 3. Usually run differential tells the truth long term. That's why this series feels very important for the Padres. Pitching matchups could decide everything. We got the knuckleball chaos today with Matt Waldron as the bulk guy coming in for Bradley Rodriguez, who is the opener, going against Brandon Sproat. Waldron may have saved his rotation spot temporarily when he had 7 strikeouts and 1 run over 5 innings in his last outing against the Giants, but hitters are batting .320 against his knuckleball. Maybe that's why he's not throwing his knuckleball as much, Frank. Hitters hitting .320 against it.
Yeah, because again, he's not focusing on it. That's a pitch that you need to have focus on if you're going to want to throw it. So, I mean, it's either use it or phase it out. Otherwise, it's going to be an in-between pitch, and it's going to be more or less like you don't have that pitch anymore because people are going to focus on it.
The effectiveness of that pitch has dropped significantly from 2024. Lucas Giolito is nearing activation. Every start now feels like an audition for Matt Waldron. In terms of Brandon Sproat, young Brewers arm, swing and miss ability, but he has a lot of home run issues. That's why his ERA is so high. Left-handed hitters have crushed Sproat so far. Opportunity for the Padres if they can actually capitalize offensively. Wednesday, we'll talk more about that tomorrow. Michael King versus Jacob Mizorowski. This is an ace-level matchup on Wednesday. I mean, the Padres ace is Michael King, 2.76 ERA. Mizorowski, one of the nastiest young pitchers in baseball right now. MLB strikeout leader. He's got 70 strikeouts already. 19 strikeouts over his last 11 and a third scoreless innings. That could be a nightmare matchup for the Padres. I mean, you scratch across the run against Mizorowski, you're going to be in a good spot. At least you got your number one going against them in Michael King. Thursday's the big swing game. Griffin Canning, Kyle Harrison. We'll talk more about this again tomorrow because we're off Thursday because that game's at 10:40 in the morning. Kyle Harrison is kind of a really good story from Milwaukee. He's got a 2.41 ERA, allowed 2 runs or fewer in every start. Another difficult matchup for the Padres. Tonight is the night to take advantage. I mean, you got to get a win today because it's going to be tough to win a series with the upcoming pitching matchups, especially since the Brewers have a top 10 rotation ERA. Bullpen is still carrying this Padres team, but they got to get the bats out early. Bold prediction for the night. Frank, what's your bold prediction of the night?
Waldron goes 5, so it'd be 2 through 6. 2 runs, 5 hits.
I got the Padres jumping on the starter early. I think the Pods hit 2 home runs today. 2 bombs to the Padres. That's my bold prediction of the day. Quinn and Chris coming up next tomorrow's show. Recap game 1. We'll see if our bold predictions played out. See if the offenses turn things around. Get you ready for a couple of games tomorrow as well. Padres start their series with Milwaukee. Eco Water SoCal Padres pregame show at 3:40. First pitch 4:40. Talk to you guys tomorrow.